think Woodsy heard us in Hawaii on that one. Welcome in on a Wednesday morning. What a night. What a day for your San Diego Padres. It is Ben and Woods. I'm Ben Higgins, joined by our executive producer, imaging director, and wearing many hats guy, Paul Reindl today as Stephen Woods continues his vacation week. And I've got to think he's...
Day one, FOMO.
I don't know that he's regretting his decision to go on vacation, but he's going, why does this have to happen? The first day I am gone. Like, I get on a plane, Padres make 3 trades at the deadline, and then come back from 5-0 down to beat the Los Angeles Dodgers in walk-off fashion last night in the 10th inning, 6-5. If you didn't stay up for whatever reason, you went to bed early thinking this isn't going to happen.
Turn it off after the first inning.
Oh man, we've got some audio for you today. We've got just a very exciting Wednesday on the program. Good morning, Paulie.
Great morning. Ben.
Great morning.
Great morning.
You got the Rally Roach over there. I kissed the Roach yesterday.
There's our Rally Roach.
The Rally Roach seems to still be in effect here. As it was electric last night at Petco Park.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely electric. The record crowd, over 47,000, the biggest crowd in the history of Petco Park, officially 47,559 people. I mean, we got to be straining like the what is possible for a baseball game. How many people can you get in Gallagher Square and in the concourses for a game?
Right.
And from the sound of it and the look of it in the stands, 70 to 80% Padres fans, I would say. Yeah, there were some Dodgers fans there. They got to cheer a little bit early, and then not again after the top of the first inning. It was all Padres excitement as they slowly made their way back all the way to the 9th inning. Oh yes, we've got all the calls for you of the incredible home runs in the 9th inning to tie it, and then the walk-off by Donovan Solano. Pinch hit. I mean, Mike Schilt pulling all the strings in the bottom of the 10th inning.
How fantastic is that?
Give the Padres a 6-5 win on a day that you thought, all right, they're going to lose a second one here, and now, all right, they're going to – every other team in the wild card race won yesterday. This is not the way you want to get your post-trade deadline last 2 months of the season started, but instead it goes down as another fantastic victory in a season that is starting to be chock full of them. I mean, just the memorable wins going all the way back to the 8-0 comeback against the Cubs way back in April. I mean, there are a lot of
7 walk-offs?
7 walk-offs, 4-1 in extra inning games. Man. I mean, this team could not be more opposite of the 2023 Padres from last year.
Yeah.
All the magic they did not have last year seems to have found its way into the Padres clubhouse this year.
I can't really explain it, but it's there. It's absolutely there. I think yesterday it had strong vibes of 2022. Acquiring Juan Soto at the trade deadline. Padres made a lot of splashes yesterday at the trade deadline. Nothing crazy like bringing in a guy like Juan Soto, but by all accounts, one of the biggest, if not the biggest winner of the trade deadline. And then remember in 2022, the grand slam by Brandon Drury, like Petco Park was just on fire. Everyone's like, we're never losing again.
Sure. Jorge Alfaro, all the walk-offs,
yeah, you kind of felt
LFGSD.
like that a little bit last night.
I mean, the magic was extremely high in 2022. It led them all the way to the National League Championship Series eventually. The magic was completely missing last year. I mean,
it was never there.
There may have been no less magical season in baseball than last year's Padres season. Every one-run game, every extra inning game.
Like even
no comebacks, no nothing last year. Nothing worked out for the team last year.
Even 2021 with the, what did Peter call it, a once-in-a-generation
collapse,
once-in-a-millennium collapse. That first half of the year still had plenty of memorable moments. I remember being there, like, sweeping the Dodgers in June, and you're thinking, oh, we're the favorites to win the World Series this year. Didn't happen. In just epic fashion, they collapsed. But last year just really didn't have any magical moments at all.
I mean, I think
We had
David Dahl, Ha-Sung Kim walk off
in
on
April.
like April 3rd or whatever it was. And then it's like, all right, here we go. We're carrying the momentum from 2022 right into 2023. That was pretty much it until the last couple of weeks of the season when it was too late. So, they keep it going. There's definitely a confidence, something that, maybe it's Jackson Merrill, maybe it's Mike Schilt. What's that different? I mean, a lot of the players are the exact same players that were there in that 2023 season, but just having a seemingly completely different attitude in 2024. And again, one win doesn't change the course of a season, but it certainly is more than just, hey, a one-off kind of game, because they've done this many times over the course of the year now, and just continuing a trend. We will talk about it pretty much for the next 5 hours. Well, you and I for 4.
Yes.
And then we've got the roundtable coming up this morning at 10 o'clock when we'll be joined by Annie and Elston, Gwen and Chris, and Sammy Levitt's going to be in for Woodsy on the roundtable today when we'll discuss the trade deadline moves and the final 2 months of the season coming up for your San Diego Padres, who have one more against the Dodgers today. We were just going through it because I wasn't sure, and Paulie confirmed it for me. Padres need one more win against the Dodgers to clinch their first season series against that team since 2010. Yeah. 14 years ago was the last time the Padres took a season series from the Dodgers. They're now 6-3 against LA this season with 4 games remaining. 1 today at Petco Park, 3 more in Los Angeles later in the year. And if they win any of them, 7 wins would clinch the season series. Not that that gets you to the playoffs, not that losing a season series to the Dodgers prevents you from getting to the playoffs, but it will be nice, hopefully, to turn the tables on an organization that has owned the Padres, at least in the regular season, outside of the 2022 playoffs, that's just owned you for 14 years now, and you finally have a chance to, and this year especially, when the Dodgers had all the hype going into the year with Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto and the moves that they made in the offseason.
Yeah, they spent $69 billion this offseason. And
the Padres cut
help.
payroll by close to $100 million.
Yeah.
And this is the year that the Padres finally, break the streak against the LA Dodgers. Baseball doesn't really make that much sense.
Maybe spend some of that big budget on an updated rule book for your manager. I don't know.
That was a weird situation that we can talk about in the 10th inning as well. The double mound visits by Dave Roberts that cost his pitcher a pitch clock violation with the bases loaded and Donovan Solano coming to the plate.
I will just say it for him. And look, it's 3:09 right now in Hawaii, but we're hoping that Woodsy will call in maybe in the 9 o'clock hour if he's up early over there. I'll just say it now for him, though. I hope Dave Roberts gets a lifetime extension for the Dodgers. As long as he is the manager of the Dodgers, we got a chance. We have a shot.
Well, I'm always a little torn on that subject, but I mean, he certainly hasn't gotten the most out of that franchise over the last few years. I mean, in the regular season, they've had some good ones. This year, though, beset by injuries, they have not totally been able to overcome them. Now, they're still in first place, 5.5 games ahead of the Padres. You win today, though, and I heard Sam Levitt talking about it on the postgame show last night. You win today, cut the deficit to 4.5, and you've got the tiebreaker in terms of the season series. So you know exactly all you need to do is finish with the same record as them at the end of the season. You've got a bullpen that's now built, and we'll talk about the moves that were made yesterday that is built to protect any lead that you can get pretty much after the 6th inning. You're trying to shorten those games and go, hey, we get ahead, we're going to be a very difficult team to beat in the last 3 innings of the game, given the arms that we've got in the back end of the bullpen. Is it crazy to think that the Padres could chase the Dodgers down? No, I don't think it is crazy to say that could be a realistic, legitimate goal in the last 2 months of the season. But it probably has to start with another win tonight in Game 2 of the series with Dylan Cease making his first start since the no-hitter going up against Clayton Kershaw at 5:40 today, 4:40 Eco Water SoCal pregame show with Sammy Levitt. But again, we got so much else to talk about from the game last night and the trade deadline. We will kind of set the menu. Why don't we just take a timeout right now, Paulie?
Okay.
We'll set the menu when we come back. I think we should talk about some of the trades, get to our Padres rewind, listen to all the calls from Jesse, and then at 7:30, I think we'll have all the calls from everywhere else that Paulie's been hard at work compiling this morning from last night's game.
I wanted to come in last night at like 11 p.m. I could not sleep. I couldn't go to bed after that game last night. I was so wired. I thought maybe I'll just come on in and pull the all-nighter. I still came in early, but I did get a few hours of sleep. But what a game. What a day for the Padres.
It was the kind of game that just leaves you the adrenaline flowing, leaves you wired, hard to sleep, but in a good way.
You know,
all is good in the world.
I figured it out before we go to break. We were talking a few minutes ago about how this year feels. The magic, it's there. I don't know what this season holds for the Padres, but the magic is there. It wasn't there last year. And I looked at our chat on YouTube, and a lot of people were, putting PS and the heart, Peter and a heart, Peter emojis. And I thought maybe the baseball gods are smiling on San Diego this year, because they sure as hell weren't last year.
1 year soon, the baseball gods will smile on the San Diego Padres, and we will have a parade.
Maybe someone is giving them a little nudge.
Maybe.
Up there for the San Diego Padres in 2024. All right, we'll come back. Plenty to get to. Kelly's got traffic, and then we are running on a morning that I am more than glad that I'm not on vacation today and get to be here and talk about it with all the Tier 1s, with you, Paulie. We'll tell you about our guests coming up as well, because that's a busy morning as well. Think A.J. Preller. Think a Major League Baseball manager who the Padres pulled off a trade with in his team yesterday. All coming up here in the next 2 hours with Ben and Woods, Ben and Paul on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. So I had this thought last night. Imagine you are Tanner Scott and Brian Hoeing. And this is the clubhouse you get to walk into today. After last night's walk-off win over the Dodgers, you arrive and you go, "Wow, this place is jamming." Welcome to San Diego. Welcome to the San Diego Padres. To the Padres' newest trade acquisitions. It's Ben and Woods, Ben and Paul this morning here on 97.3 The Fan. So obviously at the trade deadline, Padres did some things, maybe not exactly what we expected them to do in terms of no real starting pitching acquisition. I mean, they did get Martin Perez. We can talk about that in a second. But the big deal, of course, was with the Miami Marlins acquiring left-handed pitcher, closer Tanner Scott, an all-star. He's got a 1.18 ERA. He's unscored upon in 17 straight appearances. He's been absolutely lights out. And then a second reliever, right-handed pitcher Brian Hoeing, more of a middle inning, eat a couple of innings guys, has been an opener for the Marlins before, in exchange for 4 prospects. And pretty much the top 2 pitching prospects that were remaining after they had traded Dylan Lesko a couple of days prior in the other deal to get Jason Adam, another relief pitcher from the Rays, but they trade Robbie Snelling, Adam Mazier, Graham Pauley, and infielder Jay Bashirs to get more bullpen help, but not addressing the starting pitching rotation. We will find out a little bit more about the Padres' newest acquisitions in less than an hour, because at 7 o'clock, our friend and manager of the Miami Marlins, Skip Schumacher, nice enough, is going to give us a quick call to give us a little scouting report and talk about the trade and the guys that we're getting for the San Diego Padres in that deal, which is nice of Skip. Obviously, the Marlins made a bunch of deals yesterday. I think they picked up 9 prospects and sent out, a half dozen Major League Baseball players at the trade deadline, mostly viewed as smart moves for a team that obviously is not in contention. Most of them, other than the, I think, Brian De La Cruz deal and obviously the Jazz Chisholm deal from a couple of days ago, most are guys expiring contracts, get what you can, help rebuild a farm system that's not ranked very highly in Major League Baseball. But Skip, always really good to this show, has agreed to call us up at 7 o'clock this morning and talk about some of the new guys who are coming to the Padres.
Yeah, I will be honest. I felt a little dirty, reaching out to him even. I'm like, man, this sucks. This sucks for this guy. This guy was the manager of the year for this team, and now, probably done at the end of the year. They have just completely gutted anybody with even a little bit of baseball talent. You're gone. I'm like, that sucks, but I know he's a friend of the show. I knew he would probably do it. He texted me about 20 minutes before first pitch in their game yesterday.
Tells you where,
where his head was at.
His head's at. I would imagine that, Adam Mazier, Graham Pauley, probably chance to get an opportunity right away with that team, with all the openings on the big league roster. Maybe even Robbie Snelling at some point in the last couple of months, if he's thrown well in the minor leagues, could get a promotion. So it's a path to the big leagues for those guys in an organization where it was going to be a lot harder to find playing time for the San Diego Padres. So while, you probably, if you're Mazier, you're going, oh, I'm leaving a really fun group and a chance that, go to the playoffs and make a deep run, you're also going to an organization that can be a little more patient. They're not going to care as much if you give up 5 runs in 3 innings, and they'll let you go and start again because, well, quite frankly, they don't have anything else, and they don't have any reason to worry about the L's and what you're going to be doing on the field. They want to give you some major league experience.
That's why I was so
point.
confused with Garrett Crochet, allegedly torpedoing any chance he had of getting off maybe the worst baseball team in the history of Major League Baseball.
That is confusing in terms. I mean, the only thing with Crochet is that he's really at a pivot point in his career. He needs to get that big contract.
I mean, he'll get traded in the offseason, I'm sure.
I've got to imagine that is the plan. But for Garrett,
I wouldn't want to be in that clubhouse around that team in that ballpark for one more day.
Garrett Crochet is angling for that first big deal, and until you get it, you're not really set as a baseball player.
100%.
And he's had some injury issues. I'm sure it's in his mind. The worst thing that could possibly happen right now is that I blow out my arm before I sign the big deal, and now I've got the possibility of going to a team that if they're in a playoff hunt, they may blow so far past like my, safe innings level. I mean, you get to the, Steven Strasburg level. What if a team traded for Garrett Crochet and they needed him to start 3 times in a World Series? Like, all right, you got game 1, 4, and 7, dude, because we don't have anyone else right now. Yeah, my arm's about to fall off. Hey, it's the World Series. Go out there and pitch. And then in the offseason, they go, yeah, your arm's shot, No, we're not going to sign you to a long-term contract extension. I understand from a business perspective where Garrett Crochet and his agent are coming from in terms of protecting his most valuable commodity,
sure,
his arm. But, yeah, I mean, to be condemned to another 2 months on a Chicago White Sox team that is now already the worst team maybe in baseball history, and now you've taken a bunch of guys off of it, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. I mean, a bunch of minor leaguers can't do much worse. They've lost 16 games in a row. Can't do worse than that, right? So try something else in
17
Chicago.
in a row.
17 last night?
No, they could.
Oh, they could. Yeah, that's true. You can keep losing. That's for sure. So that was the big move made yesterday by A.J. Preller. We'll talk about it with Skip Schumacher. We will also talk about it with A.J. Preller, the general manager and president of baseball operations for the San Diego Padres, will join us at 8 o'clock this morning. He talked to the media yesterday and answered most of the questions. One thing that I am curious about is the Martin Perez acquisition, kind of the last minute grab a starting pitcher. Felt like the Pirates had picked up, I think, a pitcher, and maybe they just didn't have any room, and AJ kind of swooped in and said, all right, looks like they're going to probably have to release him anyway, and got him for a Dominican Summer League young prospect in basically almost nothing to get Martin Perez. But why him and not some of the other like fifth starter type options that were out there?
Yeah, I know there were a lot of people that loved the trades yesterday. I mean, Padres have arguably the best bullpen in baseball now. I mean, you essentially shortened the game to like a 6-inning game. If your starter comes out after 5 or 6 and you have the lead, you have to feel really good about your chances now.
But will you have those leads over the next 2 months when your fourth starter is still Randy Vasquez and your fifth starter may now be Martin Perez, who's literally had like 2 good starts this year, and otherwise it's been a pretty bad year for the left-hander.
I loved the trades. I think the bullpen is in great shape right now. But, of course, I was confused that they didn't really go out and get that starting pitcher that we assumed he would go out and get. And you think, well, maybe the market was just too much. You saw what like Kikuchi went for a couple of days ago. Maybe the market was just asking too much. Then I saw what the Dodgers gave up for Jack Flaherty, and I go, I feel like we could have probably matched that.
That was a head-scratcher for everyone, the Jack Flaherty deal. Now, it was reported by The Athletic last night that Flaherty was going to the Yankees, and then the Yankees didn't like his medicals. And they actually torpedoed the deal late at the last minute. So it's possible that the Dodgers got a bit of a discount knowing we're taking on some risk here, that maybe he might not be healthy completely for the rest of the season, and he's only a rental. So you're kind of rolling the dice on Jack Flaherty. They may have given up 2 prospects for damaged goods over the last couple of months of the season, and that may be why the Padres ended up staying away. They can't really afford to give up prospects for damaged goods. They need someone who can actually pitch over the last 2 months of the season. Maybe he will, and it'll end up being a steal for the LA Dodgers. But they're clearly taking some sort of risk on that the Yankees were not willing to take on with Jack Flaherty, who was the best starting pitcher dealt yesterday, and the price tag was shockingly low, like 2 prospects, not anywhere near what Yusei Kikuchi got, in the deal with the Houston Astros. So why? It's got to be the medicals. Maybe the Tigers got desperate. The Yankees torpedoed it so late. It's like, all right, we got 45 minutes left, and we need to trade this guy for something, and they start, calling everybody up on the phone. Now, apparently, and we can get into this, but apparently the Dodgers were very interested in Tanner Scott. Mm-hmm. And it's possible that when Flaherty all of a sudden became available at the end, they pulled out of the Tanner Scott deal, which left the Padres to go and grab Tanner Scott as they worked on a Flaherty deal in the last couple of hours before the trade deadline. That's why the trade deadline is so wild. It's going one direction, then all of a sudden one move is made, and everybody's going in a different direction, and it all has to happen over a period of a few hours, in the middle of the baseball season.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that Brian Hoeing, I think, can start can be a starter, maybe more of an opener, but like he's got that ability in him. He can be a closer, middle relief, long relief, like whatever, high leverage. Like he's a pretty versatile guy, kind of like a Matt Strom was. He started some games. He was
This year he has been. Before this year he was It was nothing. Hoeing, yeah.
Yes.
Before this year, he was off everybody's radar. He's had a good season this year.
He started 2 games for Miami this year.
I wouldn't be surprised, and maybe I'll ask AJ also if they've seen something in Hoeing where they feel like maybe they can stretch him out into more of a starter. They like it. I think he's got a 4-pitch mix, which could.
And maybe AJ knows that Joe's on his way back, and we only got to go one more time through the rotation or something like that. And
still,
nobody knows about you, Darvish.
You are now kind of on the razor's edge when it comes to starting pitching for the next 2 months. Even if Joe comes back, you're still one injury away from not having a 5th starter for 2 months.
Yeah.
And you, Darvish, remains in the equation as well. AJ even admitted yesterday that, he's kind of looking at the playoffs when he's saying this is a bullpen that can win in the playoffs. You do have to get there first. You have to get there before you may have the team that is best suited for playoff baseball in the entire league. You don't get there, you can't win the World Series. So, that's got to be job one, is getting to the postseason. Do the Padres have enough starting pitching? We can talk about that. We'll take some phone calls certainly at some point this morning. Tier 1s want to get your opinion on what the Padres did yesterday. The other move was simply kind of bookkeeping, trading Enyel De Los Santos to the New York Yankees. He probably would have been released otherwise because they didn't, they have to clear some roster space for Jason Adam and for Tanner Scott and for Brian Hoeing. They're going to have to make a couple more moves today just to add those guys. So you get what you can for Enyel De Los Santos, shed a little salary, make it all work, and that was kind of the trade deadline day for your San Diego Padres. Let's take a timeout. When we come up, Paulie's been working feverishly on our Padres wrap-up. I have not heard all the calls yet from Jesse. I listened to some of Sammy's postgame show last night. I was at work, and then I got to hear some of it on my drive home.
'Twas a good one.
But I didn't hear all of Jesse's calls, which I am very excited to hear how Jesse called all the action last night. Coming up next in our Padres wrap-up, Ben and Woods continuing on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
There's something wrong with the process. I mean, let's take us through to this trade, right? On the eve of opening day, he trades for Dylan Cease and gets an ace who's a Cy Young candidate. Then he waits a couple of months and he calls up the Marlins and he goes and gets a guy that's won a batting title in both leagues in Luis Arise, right? And then he sits there a couple of days ago and he trades for Jason Adam, one of the best setup relievers in the game. And now he gets another impact closer in Tanner Scott to put with Robert Suarez in the back end. And now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they have one of the best bullpens in the game. And they're a team that's not only a playoff team, but they're now positioned where they can do serious damage in October with that bullpen that they'll be throwing out there. This is an unbelievable move for them.
That is former MLB executive Jim Bowden on MLB Network Radio advocating for A.J. Preller to win Executive of the Year based on the moves that he's made. And certainly offers a compelling case there, Paulie.
Well, yeah, again, like you said, it wasn't just the relievers that were added yesterday. You have to factor in Dylan Cease, Luis Arise. I mean, he's had a hell of a season as far as moving some guys around and bringing in some really quality players.
Obviously, the results for A.J. Preller over the last decade as Padres GM have been very, very mixed. And as Padres fans, we know about the bad decisions and the moves that we'd love to have back. And no GM is perfect. The one thing that A.J. truly has, I think, in spades, more than any other general manager, maybe even sports executive I have ever seen. He is unafraid. He is unafraid to make a move that could come back and bite him. And so many execs, and I understand it, are afraid to pull the trigger on a deal that they know could come back and haunt them. You know, if Robbie Snelling goes on and becomes an all-star pitcher, or Dylan Lesko does, and the Padres get nothing but some bullpen help, nothing but a rental in the case of Tanner Scott. A couple of those guys come up and become all-stars, like with the Mariners trade a few years ago, getting Austin Nola and giving up Munoz, an all-star, and everything that they lost in that haul. AJ sets himself up where he can look really, really bad later, but he's unafraid, and he's unafraid to keep trying and keep doing it. And he has this almost unfounded confidence in himself that he's just going to go back and refill the farm system and do it again.
And we've seen him do that. We have seen him do that many times already in his tenure here. So if you are out there listening and you're very upset with the fact that we traded away more prospects and weakened the farm system, like, who better than AJ Preller to just stock it up? Like, if I told you they're going to be the number 9 farm system in all of baseball next year, would you doubt me?
And let's be clear, Paul, I wouldn't doubt you. He could rebuild it that quickly. He's done it every time. The Padres are still a couple of injuries, bad breaks away from falling flat on their face. And
so is every team.
AJ Preller could be fired at the end of this season. Absolutely could be fired at the end of the season. But let me ask the question to the Tier 1s, to the Padres fans. What kind of GM would you rather have? A guy who's just scared to make a move, like is always, well, we got these prospects and let's hold on to them and just see what they turn into in a few years, and we're just going to be patient and that's all we're going to do? Or would you rather have a swashbuckler who's willing to put his chips out in the middle of the table, and sometimes he loses, and he loses big on some of those pots, and then when he does, he's not gun shy to try it again, and he goes out and tries it again? I do feel confident that the best way eventually to win a World Series is with the swashbuckler and not the guy who's going to wait, bide his time for 4 years and hope that it all comes together, that he made all the right decisions over 5 years to get your one chance at it. No, he's just going to keep throwing it chance after chance after chance. And yeah, there's a price to pay sometimes on the back end that's not pretty. But fortunately, like you said, he keeps restocking and giving the Padres more chances, more bites at the apple to go out there and try it again if it doesn't work the last time. All right, let's get to the highlights. Our Padres wrap up. What a win. I mean, you're down 5-0 in the first inning to the Dodgers. Even the optimistic Padres fans have got to think, all right, this is This one's probably not going to happen for us tonight.
I was feeling pretty good after the trade deadline. I'm like, all right, let's go get this dub tonight. And then that first inning happened. You're like, oh.
Sucked the air out of the room.
Yeah.
I mean, so many big moments that not only got the Padres back into the game, but kept it at five for the Dodgers. For 9 straight innings, you've got to keep them at 5 to really have a chance in that game. And they did. All the highlights in our Padres wrap-up right after a check of traffic from Kelly here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Good morning. Got a couple things starting us off. One of them is a collision on Mount Miguel Road on ramp to northbound 125. Also, a fire has started in one of the parking lots at Plaza Bonita Mall. It was all touched off by a gas line that was hit by some construction crews. So some flames, smoke visible from the 805 and the 54, and expect some traffic control around the mall. So keep you posted on that. Elsewhere around the county, things are looking pretty quiet so far. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I love winning, man. I love winning. You hear what I'm saying? It's like better than losing.
Oh, my God, I'm so stiff.
Miss any of the Padres win yesterday? Ben and Woods didn't.
What up, crew?
We've got you covered with all of the highlights.
I like it when the Padres win.
Yeah! Yeah!
It's the Padres Wrap-Up, presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else.
Yeah!
Give me a do damage.
Do damage!
Is it extra sweet because this is against the Dodgers?
First and third, nobody out, just underway. 2-1 pitch, hit off the end of the bat into left center field. Merrill, long run back into the gap, and he gets there to make the catch. Plenty deep for Ohtani to tag and score. A sacrifice fly for Gavin Lux, and a 1-0 Dodger lead in the first. 1-1, Pages hits it hard on the ground up the middle into center field, base hit. Smith has scored, Hayward's on his way, he's going to score. That's a 2-run single for Andy Pages, and a 3-0 Dodger lead in the first. 2-2, Biggio swings, hits it in the air, deep down the right field line. Peralta back to the corner, looking up, off the pole, a home run, and a 5-0 Dodger lead here in the first. It was a nice little return over the weekend. Stings this one in the air, deep to center field. Pages is back, looking up, gonna go! Line drive, home run to the right of the palm tree, out in center field. Manny Machado with his 15th of the year, and the Padres are on the board here in the second inning. Profar leans back in the left-handed batter's box, hits this one hard on the ground through the right side, base hit. Arise rounding third. Hayward unleashes a throw, no chance. RBI single Jurickson Profar, and now a 5-2 game here in the third. Here's the 1-0. Cronenworth hits it hard over the head of the first baseman Biggio, down the right field line into the corner. Profar is racing towards third base. He is going to be set. The throw comes into Lux. Relay to the plate, not in time. RBI double Jake Cronenworth, and a 2-run game here in the third. 2-2 is popped up, foul ground third base. Manny over towards the Dodger dugout, running out of room, leaning into the dugout, and he made the catch. Manny Machado into enemy territory, and we'll hang a star here at Petco. Out number 2 in the top of the fourth. 1-1 to Hernandez. Kike swings, hits it off the end of the bat into shallow center. Long run, Jackson Merrill dives forward and makes the catch to end the inning. Padres put on a defensive clinic here in the 8th. First it was Machado, and now it's Merrill. Will hang a star and head to the bottom of the 8th. A lot of history between these two. First pitch on the way. Machado swings, hits it in the air, deep to left field. Teoscar Hernandez will watch, and it's going to go! A long home run for Machado. His second of the night, and a 1-run game in the bottom of the 9th inning. A first pitch home run for Manny Machado. Merrill swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. Pages is back. He is at the wall. It's going to go!
You better believe it. We were talking about it before the game. This young man enjoys this moment, and he steps into it and owns it. Solo shot has tied this ball game at 5, and it's a new ball game.
Ball and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch on the way. Solano swings, hits a ground ball past the dive of Hernandez, down the left field line to win it. Kim scores, Solano walks it off, and the Padres come back from a 5-0 deficit to beat the Dodgers in 10.
This team has no quit in them at all, down 5-0 in the first. chip away, tie it in the 9th, win it in the 10th.
Don't take it for granted. We enjoy it, celebrate it, grateful for it. All the good things about heart, dedication to competition, regardless of circumstances, belief in themselves, the greater good. This is what fun teams and highly competitive teams and teams with a lot of hunger do, regardless, they just compete.
Well, Jesse Agler did not disappoint with those calls. He actually did not disappoint with the incorporator as well. We'll get to that at some point a little bit later. You know who didn't disappoint as well? Tony Gwynn Jr. bringing his A game on some of those calls as well. Great interjections from the color analyst in the radio booth as well. Good job by both of those guys painting the picture of an incredible night at Petco Park as the Padres rally from 5-0 down to beat the Dodgers 6-5 in 10 innings. And you heard, obviously, all the home runs and the comeback and the offense, but you did hear some of the defense as well in that game. Jackson Merrill's diving catch there in the 8th inning, just electrifying the crowd further and setting up what happened in the 9th inning. But what a game, Paulie, for Manny Machado. All around, not just the 2 home runs, which were obviously huge, but made 2 really spectacular catches in foul territory. You heard the one where he went into the dugout. He's blowing a bubble. He's checking twice to see where the railing is for the Dodgers dugout. He leans as far as possible into the dugout, makes a snow cone type catch, ends up kind of like leaning. I don't know. I'm thinking like, guy wearing a leather jacket in a 50s movie, just kind of, casually leaning on the railing of the Dodgers dugout as Teoscar Hernandez comes over and is like trying to playfully knock it out of his glove. Like, dude, you just did that in our dugout? Come on, man. You can't be that cool just to walk over there and make that catch. What a game for Manny Machado.
You heard Jesse and Tony on that call of Manny's catch on the dugout rail. Did you hear Don and Mud, though? Mud was spectacular yesterday.
2-2, sky to the infield. Foul ground for Manny Machado, going as far as he can, and Manny will make the catch, leaning into the Dodgers dugout. Makes the catch, says hello to some people. Nice play by Manny Machado.
Hey, if Manny says wow, yes, it's wow worthy. There's the bubble. There's the flash look. And the Dodgers, you just got machadoed.
What an incredible game for Manny, he's still got it in him, that's for sure.
I'll say it. We had heard that Manny finally feels healthy. We heard this about a week ago. And he was starting to get locked into the plate. You'd seen him improve as the season has progressed. And I was watching the game last night, and I go, yeah, he looks healthy. He looks happy. He doesn't look like he's in pain. He's playing at a elite level that we expect out of him, both offensively and defensively. I think he's back.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a slump at the plate coming out of the All-Star break on the road trip while the other Padres were winning, so you didn't really notice. And then I think it was Saturday, had that 3-run home run, took a really good swing on it, similar to the home run that he hit last night in the 2nd inning. That line drive kind of going the other way, right center field. And then the 9th inning home run when he pulls one and hits he doesn't often hit the towering shots, but when he does, the lean back, and just kind of admire because that's going toward the second deck like it did. We got much more to talk about with this game, but when we come back, we're going to chat about the Padres' new acquisitions with someone who knows them fairly well. That would be their former manager, the skipper, named Skip of the Miami Marlins, will join us next here on 97.3 The Fan. Do not go away. Yes, we do have all the calls from the walk-off win last night, and we're going to get to those coming up later this hour. But this is a special treat because joining us right now here with Ben and Paul on 97.3 The Fan, Tier 1 manager of the Miami Marlins, and it's kind of a treat because he's got a game in a couple of hours at the Tropicana, the Dome there in Tampa Bay. Skip Schumacher is with us here on 97.3 The Fan. Skip, it's really nice of you to call in this morning, and I hope you're doing okay. I know it was a busy day for the Marlins as well as the Padres and other teams yesterday. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Good. Obviously,
good.
we're really
Good.
curious about the trade and the guys that the Padres are picking up. So just wanted to pick your brain a little bit about Tanner Scott. First of all, I know this guy's been terrific for you the last couple of seasons. Got an ERA of like 1.18 this year, and has been unscored upon in his last 17 outings. What's kind of been unlocked with him, and tell us a little bit more about what the Padres are picking up here for late inning bullpen help.
Yeah, well, first of all, you took all my favorite players in Arias and Scott, so thanks for doing that.
You're welcome.
But Tanner's an absolute dog. He is one of my all-time favorite players. Once again, the work ethic is 10 out of 10. He's the first guy in the weight room. He's the guy that prepares the most in the bullpen. He wants the high-leverage situation. He wants to save, or he'll go in the seventh inning and get an out there and go back in the eighth and ninth. He does not want a day off. He pitches every single day. He gets pissed off when he has a day off. He is an incredible pickup, and we got some good players in return, obviously. But really happy for the Padres and what they're able to do with that bullpen.
Well, that's good to hear because as a rental, a free agent to be, the Padres are going to probably want to work him a lot down the stretch here. So he'll have that opportunity. As you said, though, when the trade came down, I looked at what the Padres gave up. Their top two pitching prospects that were left, Graham Pauley, Jay Bashirs, and I go, this is a huge haul for the Marlins. And then I started wondering, well, what about the other pitcher that the Padres are getting? People sometimes go, kind of throw in, and then I looked at some of the numbers for Brian Hoeing, and I go, well, maybe there's something there as well. What has Hoeing done for you this season?
Yeah, it was a big haul, but AJ and their staff, Posty and Kemp and those guys over there, they do such a great job of getting more talent the next year in the draft and different trades. I mean, it's amazing how they replenish that system every single year and are able to make trades like this. Brian Hoeing is a swing guy, a spot start guy, a guy that can get you out of a jam, multiple innings. He can do a number of different things. He really made an adjustment this year with his third pitch, which is a split change to get lefties out. So he's been able to get multiple righties and lefties out, not just a right-handed lane. If a guy pinch hits, he's able to get that guy out. He's so flexible, whether it's, again, a spot start if you need it, and he can be a leverage guy, which we used him in the eighth inning at times this year. So another really good guy, makeup 10 out of 10, just a really good pickup as well.
And I'd imagine that guys, especially like Adam Mazur and Graham Pauley, who've seen some time in the big leagues this year, they'll get an opportunity with you maybe over these last couple of months of the season that they might not have had in San Diego. Do you have any idea kind of what's the plan for some of your new former Padres acquisitions?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I haven't heard just yet, what the exact plan is. There were so many trades yesterday, and just trying to make out a lineup yesterday was challenging.
How did you fill a team yesterday with all the trades that were made? And you're on the road, too.
Right. Luckily we were in Florida, and we had some guys that were close by that could make it, just in case kind of guys, almost like spring training, like Jicks guys, right? Just in case. And, here we are. We had all these guys come in, luckily at the right time. So the front office did a good job of preparing us, just in case these things happen. But you're right. There's going to be a lot of young guys that are coming up and getting a real opportunity, and they're talented guys as well. So I think it's a really good trade for where we are at in the season. It was obviously a seller's market, and we had a really good bullpen, and our GM president took advantage of it and really replenished the system.
It's too bad, Paulie. If the Marlins had been on the road here in San Diego when that trade happened, you might have had a chance. You could have been the Jicks guy, the just-in-case guy.
Possible.
Tier 1s, Skip, Woods and Paul's Tier 1s are playing really well. How many games in a row have you guys won? Like
12.
12 in a row. They're red hot,
We're putting
Skip.
up 17 runs a
you
game.
might need Woodsy or Paul to fill out a lineup here the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, we're okay now.
Okay.
Yesterday was a little dicey, but no offense to Paulie, but I think we'll be all right.
All right, fair enough.
Next time.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you get a game to get to. I really appreciate you giving us that scouting report. I think the Tier 1s are excited to hear about those two guys. I'll let you go because I know what you got 2 hours away. So
What are you, like, on the field for batting practice?
Yeah, where
right
are you
now?
in the manager's office in that dungeon?
I'm actually on the field right now, about to take ground balls. So
All right.
yeah, love you guys, but I definitely got to go here.
Thank you so much,
Appreciate
Skip.
you,
Skip
Skip.
Schumacher. How about that? Manager of the Miami Marlins. He literally on the field about to hit some fungos to his guys.
That's incredible.
With a 9:10 Pacific first pitch. So, yeah, 2 hours and 5 minutes away from a game. They're fully in batting practice and game prep mode, and he comes and gives us that scouting report on Taylor Scott and Brian Hoeing.
That's why he is the best.
That's amazing. Interesting stuff, too, as well. Before we kind of break that down, I do need a contestant. John Flint's coming over in just a second for Take on John with Woodsy out. Your chance to qualify for the trip to Las Vegas. So if you want to play our game, call right now, 833-288-0973. We're like 2 minutes away. 833-288-0973. Call in to take on John today with a chance to qualify for the trip to Las Vegas here at the end of July. But that Tanner Scott scouting report was kind of exciting. I mean, obviously the numbers have been fantastic, but the Bulldog, I want to pitch every day, just give me the ball, let me eat out there. That was really cool to hear from Skip Schumacher.
Tanner's an absolute dog.
Love that.
Tanner's a dog. They've got Jason Adam. I mean, Robert Suarez has been an absolute dog for the Padres this year. And you saw in last night's game that you can lengthen the bullpen. Even without those guys having really arrived yet, using Adrian Morejon down 2 in the seventh inning as opposed to waiting until you had a lead. Mike Schultz going to be able to be much more aggressive. Maybe not every single day, but there's going to be more opportunities to use higher leverage guys in more situations that allow you the chance to win some of these games that you might have said a month ago, well, we got to save our guys for a lead tomorrow. So, Stephen Kolek, we just need a couple from you here, and cross our fingers that we're still in the game at that point. Now they can be more aggressive when it comes to who they're picking at the end of games. And Hoeing, that was some good stuff too. A guy who can start. Yeah. I mean, even if it's not 7 innings, he goes in and gives you 3 at the start of a game. That's something over the last couple of months of the season with the limited options the Padres have to start right now. So good scouting report there from Skip Schumacher. All right, John's coming over in a second, so why don't we just get to our game? We got some contestants on the line. Let's get to it. Let's take on John. John. Take on John, brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. It only takes 15 minutes. You don't have to get out of your car. For directions and discounts, go to SoCalOilChange.com. That's SoCalOilChange.com. Oh.
Let's try line 3.
All right.
Try to get
let's
new names
see.
on here.
Who's this? Someone new. You're on Take on John. Good morning.
This is when you talk if you're on the phone.
Everybody who's on hold, just start talking, and someone should be there.
Lewis?
Hello?
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 Who is it?
Who's this?
I don't know.
You called us.
Yeah, I want to play.
I think the connection's not great. Try calling back. All right, I'm gonna go with a more established name. Guy, I usually have a pretty good connection. Good morning.
Most of the time.
Thank you. All right, sorry about that. All right,
Always here
we
for
tried.
you.
I mean, it's always good getting new names and new faces into the game, but we got to be able to hear you.
Who's
You've got to
this?
be
You
somewhat
called
awake
us, bro.
to play this game. All right, Guy, you know how it works. You got 60 seconds, 5 questions. We'll compare your score to John. If you can beat our time, we'll put you into the drawing for the trip to the Rio Las Vegas. 2-night stay, dinner for 2, day bed at the Rio pool. It's all new. 4 sparkling new pools, remodeled rooms, new food hall. Book now at RioLasVegas.com. All right, Guy, here are your categories. The Afterlife. Song titles and artists, including the word after. Go Where You Want to Go. Those are the song titles with the word go, and our mystery category, which is an all 2-second song mystery category today. Guy, the afterlife, go where you want to go, or the mystery category?
Go mystery.
Oh, we're going right to it. All right. That means you don't get the theme, but in an interesting twist today, no questions, just music. So we've got 5 songs. You'll have 60 seconds to identify as many as you can. You need to give me the title and the artist to score the point. And then John will go, and we'll see how you do. So the mystery category, by the first one, you should have a really good idea of what it is, but it's up to you to figure it out, guys. So you ready to play?
Good. I am.
Paul, you got all the songs queued
ready.
up? All right, Paulie's ready to play. Let's put 60 seconds on the clock. Guy, it's the mystery category. Your time begins when Paul plays our first song. Good luck to you, Guy. Let's take on John.
No idea.
All right, let's pass. Let's go to song number 2.
Walk like an Egyptian, the Bengals.
Correct. Song number 3.
Walk this way, Harold.
Correct. Song number 4.
Walk alike, Dire Straits.
Correct. Song number 5.
Walk on the Wild Side, Lou Reed.
Correct. Let's go back to the first one.
Walk something, I don't know. Way She Walks.
No, it's
Nobody? Yeah.
not. It's not. It's Walk by the Foo Fighters, but obviously you got that theme, Walk. You got all the other ones, Walk Like an Egyptian, Walk This Way, Walk a Life, Walk on the Wild Side. So 4 is your score. Get on hold, Guy. Let's bring John Flint in from down the hall at KSON. John, good morning to you.
It certainly is a good morning.
Yes, Padres fan John is very happy, just like the rest of us today. Let's get some headphones for you. I got some over here, actually, behind the behind our sign here. Johnny is going to take Woods' seat.
Very prepared.
Sorry.
So
No, it's our fault.
So Guy's score is locked in. Today, you probably want to turn it down a little bit. It's a little loud for you. Sorry, we just interviewed Skip Schumacher from the field at Tropicana Field. He's got a game in 2 hours, but he called us and gave us a scouting report on the new players the Padres just picked up.
What a day.
Yesterday.
What a day.
What a day it was. That was amazing.
I think our boy Alex said it best when he said they pushed all their chips in the middle of the table yesterday.
Sure, they kept 2 chips back, and Leo DeVries and Ethan Salas, but otherwise the rest of the
Thank
chips
God.
are gone. All right, so today is a little interesting. This is the mystery category.
Oh, boy.
But it's an all 2-second song edition. So I don't have any questions. All I have is music for you. 5 different songs. You need to give me the title and the artist. And they will all have a similar theme if you can figure them out.
Oh, am I to guess the theme as well?
No,
Is that
you
part
just
of the
have to
gig?
guess the title and the
All right,
artist.
okay.
The theme will be obvious
Guess
once you
the
start
theme
guessing.
in your head.
If you don't, if you don't know, you can pass. It may
Okay.
help you to come back if you don't
Sure,
know one
sure.
with the theme later. All right.
Go easy on me, Paul.
Guy's score is locked in. 60 seconds back on the clock. John, your time begins when Paul plays the music. Song number 1. Good luck. Let's take on Guy.
You
can pass.
That's Tal Bachman. She's so high.
It's not.
No.
All right, let's go. Song number 2.
Walk like an Egyptian. The Bengals.
Correct. Song number 3.
Hang on. Aerosmith. Walk This Way.
Correct. Song number 4.
Walk a Life. Dire Straits.
Correct. Song number 5.
We'll take a walk on the wild side. Lou Reed.
All right, that's 4, and that's a tie.
Can I go back to number 1? I got time yet.
But you already got it wrong. You shouldn't have guessed. You
I
should have passed. Once you
is
get it wrong, you don't get a second.
What is it?
It's Walk by the Foo Fighters.
Oh, I should know that
And that's
song.
why the theme, of course, was Walk.
Oh,
Walk,
I'm
walk
seeing
like
them
an
on Wednesday.
Egyptian.
I can't wait.
Walk this way, walk of life, walk on the wild side. That's good for Guy, though, because he qualifies for the trip to Las Vegas. Ty goes to the Tier 1.
All right, good
But
good
you
job.
didn't embarrass yourself by any stretch. You
Well-
both missed the same one, which is probably the toughest one of the 5, I would say.
I kind of did since I've seen the Foo Fighters like 10 times in my life. So I think I didn't embarrass myself.
Dude, I've never seen them. I'm going on Wednesday.
Have fun, man.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's epic. They're a great
Can't
live
be as
band.
epic as last night's baseball game.
I
I don't
mean-
care. The best concert in the world does not compare to a walk-off win in baseball.
I can't take another one of those nights. I mean,
I'll
I
take
loved
them
it.
all.
I loved it, but I'm so tired today. I don't know how you're doing it, man.
It was amazing last night. I mean, we're both wired. Paulie couldn't sleep. I mean, it's so hard.
No, I
hard
couldn't
to
sleep either.
Yeah.
I actually fell asleep after the first inning until like the third. I'm like, hey, I woke up just in time.
That was a good time. Well, like 4th to the 7th would have been a good time for a little siesta last night.
Were you there?
No, I was at Channel 10 last night.
Okay,
I was watching on
that
TV,
other gig
so.
of yours. Okay.
Yeah, Johnny, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
boys. Thanks, buddy.
Friday is our next. Should be our next one. We got Real or Fake tomorrow. So yeah, congratulations, Guy, Paulie. Get your information on the break. That's an interesting question. Paulie, would you rather go to a fantastic concert, like with your favorite band, or go see a walk-off win from your favorite baseball team? What's a better night to buy tickets to? Not that you can guarantee either. You may go to the concert, just not a good one, just wasn't a good night, or you may go to a baseball game, your team gets bodied. But if you had to pick,
I don't know. Why do I have to pick?
Great concert,
you can't go
or
wrong.
walk-off win.
You
I mean,
can't
for
go
me,
wrong.
it's walk-off win.
Yeah, you don't like music.
I don't not like music. I don't like concerts that much, but I like music. All right, let's take a time out. You want to let's just bang. Don't do this today. I want to talk more about the game.
You know
We
what
didn't
I
even finish
want?
talking about the game.
You know what I want?
Yeah.
I want a tier 1 who was there last night to call in.
Yeah, let's open
what
the
I want.
phones. 833-288-0973. I mean, there were 47,000 plus. I'd imagine there were a few tier 1s in attendance last night. Give us your impressions of the walk-off come from behind win. We'll walk this way on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Guess who's away at 4:23 a.m. in the islands? Woodsy's going to give us a call here in a few minutes at the bottom of the hour. We're also going to play the rest of the calls: TV, Spanish, Korean, etc. Dodgers of not just the walk-off win. Paul, you've got Jackson Merrill's tying home run as well on some of them.
Yep.
So
Yep.
We've got a lot to get to this hour, and then at 8
Lot of good
o'clock.
audio.
8 o'clock, the general manager and president of baseball operations for the Padres, A.J. Preller, will join us to discuss the trade deadline moves. I'm sure he's got some thoughts on last night's win as well and what's still to come for the Padres, starting rotation, etc. for the rest of the season. So A.J. Preller going to be with us at 8 o'clock. Normally we don't do this, but I wanted to get out to the phone lines. Had we done Don't Do This, it would be brought to you by the Craft Taco in Sereno Valley. Craft Taco has some best quality tacos in all of San Diego. Go to thecrafttaco.com and take a look at their happy hour specials today at thecrafttaco.com. I wanted to find some fans who were at the game. Like I know Ashley, Padres fan who I follow on Twitter, was there, and she actually posted a picture of a sign. Did you see this? Went viral last night thanks to John Boy, who reposted it, and now it's got hundreds of thousands of views. Someone made a sign. We can maybe make this do this.
Oh, I think I saw that.
It says
It's not doo-doo.
It says, no, it's not. It's number one, actually. It says, Dodgers fans, welcome to a stadium that doesn't smell like pee. Which was, quite frankly, pretty hilarious. And it hits better when the Padres do win in walk-off fashion.
Oh,
so
it sure does.
if anybody else was at the stadium that doesn't smell like number one, give us a call like
number one.
Like Tyler did. Good morning, Tyler. Welcome to Ben and Woods, the 97.3 The Fan. How are you? Tyler, are you there?
Hello.
I think he was on the same line as our
hell is
first
going
caller
on with
for
our
Take on
phones?
Woods. Michael, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, guys. You got
Michael,
me?
good morning. You're on the air. Yeah, we can hear you. Somehow your line works.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, I was actually 3 rows behind the guy with that sign. The other side of the sign had the Gamblers Anonymous number on it, too.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. GEGE 000466.
That's the one. Yeah, it was an awesome game, guys. Like, the environment there after the first inning was rough, not going to lie. Seeing that ball hit the foul pole, it's like, okay. As soon as we got through the third, when we were 3-5, it felt like things were growing and the Dodger fans were quiet the rest of the game. Manny just feasting like Manny does. It was awesome. And, like, the crowd there, like, the whole time, it's not the dread Padres anymore where we're never going to come back from this. It felt like everybody expected us to come back to win, and the energy was up. It was awesome. One of the best games I've ever been to.
Awesome, Michael. I mean, it goes without saying, but I think I need to say it. After giving up 5 in the first, for Matt Waldron to come back, throw 3 more shutout innings, I think he only gave up 1 more hit, striking out 6. Then Yuki Matsui with a perfect 1-2-3 inning with 2 strikeouts. Stephen Kolek worked around a couple of walks in a scoreless inning. Adrian Morejon loaded the bases, got a little dicey, but got out of it and got his scoreless inning. Logan Gillespie threw a 1-2-3 inning. I mean, just out of nowhere. Then Jeremiah Estrada with the 1-2-3 ninth inning to give them a chance to come back and tie it in the bottom of the ninth. And then Robert Suarez with that dangerous Manfred man runner out on second base to leave him right there. He doesn't even move a muscle from second base, going 1-2-3 in the top of the 10th inning. What an unbelievable job by all, really 7 of the guys. I know, yeah, Waldron's got an issue sometimes in that first inning, and that's something they're trying to work on. I know they tried like more warm-up pitches to see if they could fatigue him a little bit. Sometimes that helps the knuckle a little bit more in the first inning, but he's had an issue. No doubt. His first inning ERA is his worst inning ERA, and kind of bit him yesterday, but he did bounce back, did enough to give the Padres a chance to come back and win that game. It was absolutely insane what the pitching staff did against that. I know weakened Dodger lineup with no Mookie and no Freddie. Still, you had Shohei, you got a red-hot Gavin Lux, you got Will Smith, you got Teoscar Hernandez. It's not like they've got nothing left in the cupboard,
Right.
even missing a couple of stars.
I hate saying it because this is something that you would say and I would yell at you for. But, yeah, I mean, if you just take away that first inning, What a game. Like, all around. Offensively, defensively, the pitching was great. You know, to just get your hopes and dreams just ripped away in the first inning with a 5-run first for the Dodgers. You're like, oh my God, not again. Like, what is happening? Why is this happening? And then to just completely silence them and score 6 unanswered. What a night.
I had a real dilemma on my hands. I was sitting there at my desk last night thinking about the show this morning when it was, 8th and 9th inning, and the Padres are down 5-3. And then Manny hits the home run. And I'm still thinking, what if they lose this game 5-4? Am I going to come back just like we did on Monday and go, that was a really good loss by the San Diego Padres? That's two
kicked you in your face.
2 really good losses in a row after they fell behind early and they fought all the way and they just didn't quite come all the way and come back. I can't just go to that car. I can't play that card 2 games in a row. Like, well, that's the best 2-game losing streak I've ever seen from the San Diego Padres.
Hey, man, I love the fight. No, I don't want to hear that.
That's
what we do.
I didn't really want to go to that, but I was impressed. I mean, whether or not they won, I was impressed how they kept in it and they fought back and kept it close and gave them a chance. I mean, the idea of doing that is so you do actually win them sometimes, and they did win that one last night. Let's get Bobby Claremont. Bobby, good morning. Welcome to Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Good morning to you. I was there last night, and I've never seen – this is my 4th year of being a season ticket holder, and I've never seen that much blue in the stands. And there was no freaking life in the place in the beginning. And when it was 5-0, it was downright depressing. It was definitely downright depressing. And then Manny goes yard, and even though that's just 1 run – the Dodgers only scored in that first inning, and the way they just continued to come back. And I'll tell you a funny story at the end. My water bottle in section 216 over in Toyota Terrace on Manny's side of the field rolled down towards the front. And I picked it up, and I turned it around, and I started chanting "Beat LA," which is pretty easy to remember. And I started chanting that. And as the Dodger fans were leaving past row 4, seats 1 and 2 where we were, the guy turned around to my wife and said, "Hey, you ought to buy him a gold and brown pom-pom set for Christmas." And normally I would kind of take a mild umbrage, and I freaking loved it. And it was such a gutsy win. I've never seen a gutsier comeback by the Padres in a regular season game.
Bobby, awesome story. Have you ever started a chant at a stadium?
Beat LA? Been the first one?
Been the first one to start a chant? I don't think I ever have. Someone has to be the first, right? Whenever I feel like
the stadium usually starts it by going
Ha Sung Kim for the first time, and then everyone chants it.
He'll step into the box, and you'll just hear the stadium go,
and then the chant starts.
And then you start chanting.
Whether it's Beat LA or Ha Sung Kim, the chant just kind of organically starts throughout the stadium. Bobby, thank you for the call. Let's take a timeout because Woodsy's going to give us a call from Hawaii very early.
Love it.
I would say he's going to be whispering to not wake up his family, but let's be honest. Hannah and the boys they're all awake right now. 7:30 San Diego time. Their body clock hasn't adjusted.
We'll talk to Woodsy, and then we've got all the calls.
So, despite the fact that he was traveling all day, flying to the most remote of the main Hawaiian islands, he did say he watched almost all of the game last night. So he'll have some thoughts, and then we'll play. As Paulie said,
texting with us during the trade deadline. He was on the plane.
He was on top of it despite all the travel. So we'll hear from Woodsy, and then we'll play all the calls for you coming up next on San Diego's Frog in the Throat on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I got to talk a lot more when Woodsy's not here. How about that? Padres walk off the Dodgers on the day that Woods leaves on vacation. And I will say, because he's on hold right now from the islands, I did kiss the Rally Roach yesterday.
I kissed it this morning.
Polly's already kissed it this morning. We're not gonna forget about the Rally Roach. Kiss it as many times as we can as we go out to the islands, and we are joined by Stephen Woods. Woodsy, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Hey, buddy.
4:39 in the morning where you are? Is that true?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, this jet lag's a mother, dude. It's no joke. Taylor's been up for a couple hours.
Oh, no.
So I've been up for a couple hours. I caught your interview with Skip. You guys do a great job, man.
Thanks.
Ben, you do a great job. Paul, you do a great job.
Thanks,
you do
Doc.
a great job.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So you actually got to catch most of the game last night. You were following along with the trade deadline. It's like you were here, except you were not.
You know, the plane Wi-Fi was the best I've ever had in my whole life. We were having full text conversations the entire flight, and I was able to follow everything on Twitter. Saw the news break. Was really cool. I had kind of a mini panic attack at the end there towards the deadline when I'm like, oh, we didn't get a starter. What are we gonna do? And you know, I'm sitting on the plane and you know the thing where it shows the plane and the line and how close you're getting to your destination. Yeah. Well, I mean, I made the
Were
biggest
you raw
mistake.
dogging this thing? Yeah.
No, I mean, well, like with one kid on either side, I might as well have been raw dogging it because I'm doing workbooks with Bo with my left hand. I'm coloring with Taylor with my right. I'm answering questions from my left, questions from my right. And I'm trying to look at the trade deadline, but I kept looking at that little plane. And it was like being in school again and going, all right, just put your head down. Don't look up at the time. And then I would look up and it'd be like 4 hours and 30 minutes left. And I'm like, it's never going to land. So the timing was amazing. We landed. We got the rental. Well, we landed, had an hour layover, jumped on a plane to Kauai, had to get the rental car. By the time, and then they live on the other side of the island. My in-laws do. So we drove all the way up here and made it right in time. Like we were watching the game in a car or listening to it, I guess. And it was spectacular. The next thing you know, it's 5-0. And I'm like, I'm not too worried. It's the first inning. This is Matt Walzer, and this is what we do. And sure enough, man, my in-laws took the kids down to the beach, and I watched the end of the game, and it was spectacular. I was elated. Now, my father-in-law is a Dodger fan, and he looked. When he got back from the beach, I said, you're not going to be very happy. And he just goes, oh, no. And I said, oh, yeah, we got you. And I always give him all that money. Holy cow. Imagine not being able to put a complete team together with $1 billion. So it's been so far so good out here.
So what were obviously you mentioned, worried that they didn't pick up a starter, and they really kind of didn't. I mean, I don't think Martin Perez qualifies entirely as what we were expecting starting-wise at the trade deadline. So what were your thoughts on bolstering the bullpen again and trying to shorten the game in that respect, but still not sure what they're going to do with the fourth and fifth starter spots the rest of the season?
I think my thoughts were just like yours and just like AJ's in that, holy cow, when I saw some of the returns and what people were getting and what we gave up, just to get some bullpen help. I just thought, what an insane market. I know I love the guys that are here, every single one of them, and seemingly when we need somebody to step up, they do. And so certainly a team nobody wants to face in October, but it's a bit presumptuous to think that we'll be there. I certainly feel like we will be based on what this team does. But holy cow! I mean, if Martin Perez, if he can come in and just chew up some innings, and you have a softer part of the schedule coming up, which means nothing. It means nothing. You still got to win those games. Man, I'm pretty elated, and nobody's bullpen has the potential to be as electric as ours, I think. And I mean, we're right up there with the Phillies now. You know what I mean? Like it's no joke. It's maybe the best in baseball, certainly the best stuff plus that I saw in baseball right now. And so I'm pretty stoked about the move. I can't really cry about the moves we didn't make. But I also look around and all the guys that were rumored to be traded, nobody pulled the trigger on those guys. So I don't feel all that bad. I'm excited to see. I heard Skip's report on Tanner Scott, and I'm like, Tanner Scott. I'm like, oh my God, this guy sounds amazing.
He's a dog.
A dog. Yeah, 100%. And I love it. And they're going to try to piece the thing together, and I'm here for it. Well, I'm here in Hawaii for it while they try to piece it together.
For the next week, yeah. You're there.
For the next week, but mentally I'm with you
you'll be
guys
back,
right
and,
now.
and then, there'll still be a lot of games left when you return. I think, you make the point, and even AJ made the point. We have built this team for playoff series, for days off, built in, for, aggressive bullpen usage. But they didn't really build it for the regular season getting into the playoffs. If they can, great. I tend to feel, though, what would you rather have? A team that if they get there has a shot, or a team that has a really good shot to get there, but once they're there, kind of like in 2000, you got no hope once you get there, though. I mean, what's better?
None.
You've got to give yourself a shot if you're there, because the idea is winning the World Series, not sneaking into the playoffs and then losing in the wild card round.
Yeah, no question. And you're going to see some of the other teams that are on the bubble. They may have the extra starting pitcher that we don't, and they may get in. But that starting pitcher is going to be working swingman duties or long man, or maybe even won't even get a start. Or like Jack Flaherty last year, wasn't even on the Orioles postseason roster. So, this team is built for October. We just got to get there, and certainly they've got the flair for the dramatic right now, which kind of leads you to believe, we get in these big games, and even if we're down, you're not out. I was so impressed with that win yesterday, and so glad Manny Machado is our third baseman. What a day for him, and Jackson Merrill was unbelievable, and Donovan Solano, just everybody, man, it was awesome.
Oh, by the way,
I loved it.
Paulie and I had a discussion off the air before you go. The decision to sacrifice bunt with Luis Arraez in the 10th inning, yay or nay?
I got a jam actually right now. I'm gonna go. No. Look, I mean, it worked out. So it worked out. I don't. Two-time batting champion, dropping down a sac bunt. But you know what? It's extra innings. That kind of anything goes. It worked. It worked. They got the job done. But everybody on the planet knew they were going to walk Profar. How about Dave Roberts' little meltdown last night?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to be too mean. I'm on vacation. When a guy's been in he's a new manager. Let's give him a break on knowing the rules. He doesn't have that many games under his belt. So
never played the game.
No, never played the game. With that much inexperience, guys, I mean, I'm sure Dodger fans are fine and forgiving of, their manager having zero idea what a rule is in the most important part of the game. I think we should cut him a little slack. I think a couple 15 extra years on his contract would be great. I'm in for that. And let the chips fall where they may. How about that? Sleepy Joe Davis putting everybody to sleep. I was listening to some of these calls and puking all over the mic up there, and it really was a perfect day if you're a Padres. Perfect day.
We're about to play some of those calls, starting with the Jackson Merrill home run. I'll let you go grab some Kona coffee, but get a nap or something to reset your body clock. You really don't want to be on the 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. schedule all week. That's not great for vacation.
Not great. So. No, it's not great. Oh, by the way, just before you play the calls, my father-in-law has me so spun out about the locals here that I may not leave the house. Just so you know, he's like, I'm telling you.
Like, what do you mean?
You don't. Dude, Paulie, he's like,
don't run a foul.
He said, don't run a foul. He goes, the speed limit here is 35. They will let you know if you. I'm going 35. I'm going 35. What? When we went to get dinner last night, it was like ordering from the soup Nazi in Seinfeld. I was like, one mac salad, please. One barbecue plate, and I would slide
Step to
over.
The left, yeah.
And, yes, and then my tray came, and there was no mac salad. And I looked at the guy in the.
Don't say anything.
He goes, "Do you need something?" I was like, I had a mac salad too. He pulls up the computer. He looks at it. He's pissed. He goes, yeah, you did. And scoops it out and he goes, here. And I'm like, I'm not saying a word. I may not eat. I may be the only guy that goes to Hawaii and I'll lose 15 pounds because I'm afraid to order anything. He's got me so spun out about these guys. I'm like, I'm not leaving the house. So typical Woods vacation.
You want bread? $3.
$3. That guy got free bread.
No soup for you. All right, Woodsy.
I'm a wreck, man.
All right. Well, maybe we'll check in with you again later in the week if something else amazing happens.
See you,
Take care. Enjoy the vacation.
Love you guys. You're crushing it. Appreciate you. And thanks to all the Tier 1. See you guys.
There he is, Stephen Woods. All right, let's check traffic. Come back. We'll at least start some of these calls that we've got for you from last night's game here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Damick.
Traffic is sponsored by Air Max, San Diego's highest-rated heating and air company. Visit them at airmax.com. Got a number of problems to mention here, guys. One of them is this fire going on in one of the parking lots at Plaza Bonita Mall. Some construction crews apparently hit a gas line. So, some flames are visible from the 805 and the 54. Just please keep your eyes on the road. Further north on the 805, right at the North 15 connector ramp, there is a motorcycle accident partially blocking lanes. Also going to find westbound King Freeway before the 5. Collision involving a couple of cars there over the right shoulder. Cordell and Cordell traffic cam shows a collision in the North County. Southbound 15, Deer Springs Road. That's in the center divide. Looking for the best in HVAC? Choose Air Max, San Diego's highest-rated heating and air company with free diagnostics on all repairs and estimates. See why over 1,300 happy customers have given Air Max 5-star Yelp reviews. See Air Max today at airmax.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, let's get right to it. We got a bunch of calls of last night's win. Let's start with the Jackson Merrill. What a swing off Blake Trinan. I mean, that kid has no fear whatsoever. We heard Jesse's radio call. Here's how it sounded on Padres.tv with Don Orsillo and Mud Grant.
High drive, deep right field. Pages back at the wall. Merrill madness. Jackson Merrill's tied the game with a home run. All tied at 5.
All right, what's next, Paulie?
Let's go, how about Joe Davis,
Ooh,
Dodgers
TV? All right.
Trying into Merrill with the 2-1. High drive right field. Back goes Pages. This game is tied.
Tough to hear him.
Yeah, the crowd is really
drowns that microphone.
Have a better mix on the Padres.tv audio than the Dodgers audio there. All right, do we have Dodgers radio as well?
I do.
Okay.
A little bit better.
And a 2-1 pitch from Trinan. Merrill swings, he hits a drive, and the game is tied. Oh, he hit it to right, well over the home run seats they've got out there, and Blake Trinan has allowed his second home run this inning, and the Padres have come all the way back to tie it.
Well, with the game on the line, you're trying to avoid the big part of the plate if you're making pitches. This one was right down Broadway.
It's like the 12th blown save just in like the last month or something for the Dodgers. Here's a crazy stat, Paulie, quickly. The Dodgers are 1-3 this month in games in which they lead by 5 runs. That's how shaky their bullpen has been in the month of July. All right, let's go to the foreign language versions. Let's hear Eduardo Ortega, Padres Spanish language broadcaster.
They might need a new microphone in the booth after last night.
3-22. Lanzamiento, palo por la derecha, se puede empatar el juego, esa bola vuela, se va, sí, 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 a la calle, Jackson en acción, Merrill, empata el juego en la 9ª entrada y los Padres vuelven, juego nuevo, empatados a 5, el novato, sensación, jonrón 13, la carrera producida 53.
My Spanish is failing me. I did hear Jackson Acción.
Jackson in action!
Jackson in action? That is fantastic, Eddie. That's why he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Merrill.
And then, of course, our friends from Korea with the call of the Jackson Merrill tying home run in the 9th inning.
우리가 풀어주고 있습니다.
바로 이게 샌디에고 야구입니다. 믿기지가 않습니다. 온몸에 소름이 돋습니다.
They were almost going with the soccer goal call. Oh, my goodness. I don't know. That was fantastic. Eddie might win the day.
I think Eddie wins that.
That was one of his best calls. Action Jackson. That was pretty incredible. They were all really good.
Jackson in acción, Merrill.
I didn't quite get. There was a lot of nines in there. I don't totally understand where he was going on some ninth inning maybe. Or I heard Revuelvo, which is I think
tied in the ninth.
Return like a comeback return tied in the ninth maybe. Whew, wow, what a finish! And of course, we also have the walk-off calls for Donovan Solano, which we will get to coming up a little bit later on the program, but not right now because coming up at the top of the hour in just 5 minutes, we're going to be joined by the president of baseball operations and general manager for the San Diego Padres. He was looking a little tired last night. They showed him up in the GM's box, and A.J. Preller starting to – I totally get it. I mean, I'm going to ask him, like, how much sleep did you get the night before last night? And then could you go to sleep last night after the way that game played out? A.J. Preller on the trade deadline coming up next with Ben Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Halfway home on a fun Wednesday morning. We just heard from Woods, pre-5 a.m. in Hawaii on the first full day of his vacation. He could not stop himself from calling in to talk about last night's game and the trade deadline. And speaking of the trade deadline, we've got on the line, our next guest is someone who earlier in the morning you heard former MLB executive Jim Bowden say if he's not the executive of the year, then the system is broken in Major League Baseball. I know he doesn't care about that sort of thing, but we've got A.J. Preller, Padres general manager and president of baseball operations, with us post-trade deadline. A.J., good morning. Congratulations on that win last night. How you feeling?
Good. Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Did you get any sleep? Now, I don't know if you saw, but the cameras caught you last night in your box. Big yawn. Which I can't, I mean, how much sleep do you get like on the night before the trade deadline when you got GMs on the East Coast and the West Coast and, you know, they may be calling? What is that night like for you?
You know, obviously, it's really like it's a few weeks now, you know, because you have the draft. So which is, you know, like the draft right next up to the trade deadline. So the last, you know, really month almost. It's a ton of fun, and it's baseball. You're just talking about baseball all day long, every day, and you know, but the last week obviously it intensifies, and we took our baseball ops staff. They went on the road, so we were there in DC and Baltimore, and then came back home, and then obviously, you know, the last 48 hours, there's, especially this year, every deadline's a little bit different in terms of the information back and forth, but there were a ton of calls back and forth, and you know, a lot of things flying, but it was a lot of fun, honestly, the last couple of weeks.
So, like, how did the trade with the Marlins? You know, Peter Bendix. How does that work? Like, how long were you talking about that? How quickly did it come together? Because you've got obviously a deadline. You know, at 3:00 yesterday, you got to get it all submitted to Major League Baseball and finalized. So, tell me a little just about how that process works.
Yeah, I mean, I think specifically the Tanner Scott deal, you know, obviously you've got, you know, we're canvassing, kind of getting a good sense of what's out there and you know, different possibilities. And, you know, each day you get a little bit more information. Some teams play it pretty close to the vest. Some teams are pretty open, you know, in terms of what they may be willing to give up or what they're looking to do. So as you keep getting more and more into what the realistic things are, you know, and then in our room, it's just constantly ranking and re-ranking and talking about different possibilities. In terms of with Peter and the Marlins, like he's you know, again, like I think they were clear they're looking to build their program and add a lot of players to their system. You know, I think they were aggressive, obviously, you know, earlier in the season, and then, you know, here at the deadline, and they're willing to make trades, and they're a very straightforward group that tells you, here are guys we like, here's kind of like the parameters of different deals, and that makes it easy to work with, in terms of like whether you just make decisions whether you want to do something or not, or it fits. And you know, we kind of got a sense 3 or 4 days ago that we were going to be one of the teams on that short list for, you know, for Tanner Scott and some of their other players they were moving on. And then, you know, yesterday it just kept progressing a little bit more and more, and ultimately, honestly, probably about 30 seconds, we made the deal, and then I think one of the media writers, I think Jeff Bassner, somebody broke it. But it was pretty clean process. Took a few weeks, but you know, in the last few days, we started lining up more and more on the players.
AJ, I heard what you said yesterday before the game about, you know, how the playoffs work and with the days off and how important it is to have a lockdown bullpen. I think of kind of what the Phillies kind of had going the last couple of years in the playoffs with all the guys they can throw at you. Tell us kind of about the thinking behind how the playoffs now works with so many rounds, but not, you know, 7 games in 7 days, why the bullpen is so critical.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, any championship team, you gotta have a lockdown bullpen. So I mean, I think that's, you know, that's always the case with you know, with most teams that go into October. These are going to be close games. You saw it last night. You know, teams that can kind of, you know, hold other teams down. It gave us a chance to get back into that game, and then late in the game, you know, if you can shut down other teams' best players, I mean, it's a huge part of it. And then, you know, with the current playoff system, you know, you're seeing it's just you know, you get the extra round of playoffs, less off days. You've got to go to an extra starter. We saw that in the playoffs, you know, a few years ago, where you've got to go to your 4th and 5th guys more than in the past. And, you know, a lot of times with that extra round and just the, you know, the amount of games, you know, a lot of teams are choosing to kind of go to their pens earlier and more often. So just having that depth, I think, you know, you look a few years ago, a lot of different ways to win, but it was kind of like if you could get 3 starters and, probably about 3 pen guys that you could ride throughout the playoffs. Teams had some success doing that. Now, you got to have a lot more depth, and, we just wanted to have as many weapons as possible and guys that could, that could impact us against the really good lineups. We saw that in 22 when we beat the Mets and the Dodgers. Suarez, Hader, Garcia, Martinez, that whole crew was a huge part of it, and hopefully we have another group that Mike and Ruben can use, and those guys can get some huge outs for us in the next couple of months, and what's going to be a heck of a pennant race.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you got to get there first, to be well set up for the postseason. And I know a lot of people just asking about, what's going to happen now at the back end of the rotation. Obviously, you're hoping to get some guys back and healthy, but hope's not necessarily a plan. You did pick up Martin Perez. Tell me a little bit about Perez. Why him and not maybe some of the other options? Is there something you saw there that you think that he can be a useful piece for you the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think, as we looked at it in different comments, we checked in on all the starters that were out there and had interest to different degrees in a lot of the starting options that were there. And ultimately just, we felt like the ability to go get Tanner Scott, Jason Adam, but then add, honestly, like a piece of that Marlin deal in terms of giving up the players we gave up was getting Brian Hoeing back, who, we think has the ability to fill different roles in our pen, and then Martin, I think, he's left-handed. He's been an all-star pitcher, in his career, got experience. He's kind of been through this, been on a world championship team. He still has 4 pitches. And we feel like he's a guy that Ruben and the pitching group can help out with some different things that we're gonna talk to him as well about. But he's kind of been through it before, and he's got real stuff. And again, I think for us, as we looked at it, with a deep pen, starters that have some experience, some moxie, left-handed, which is a nice compliment to our right-handed group, and can give us some innings. And then we know that, whether it's a Joe Musgrove or, looking at guys in AAA, Johnny Brito, Randy Vasquez's development, we've got some depth there in that area, and we're gonna obviously need it here in the next couple of months.
Talking to Padres general manager A.J. Preller, and A.J., we talked to you enough to know you're about as open-minded as it comes in ways to improve your roster. So did you go into this deadline with the idea we weren't going to trade Ethan Salas or Leodalis DeVries, or were you even open-minded about that? I know you listened. You said you always want to see what other teams are saying and asking who they're asking about, but was that like the plan? Like, unless something shocking happens, we want to keep those 2 guys.
Yeah, I mean they're 2 super exciting, young players. So it's you've got you've got a 2 premium positions, catcher and shortstop, left-handed bat and a switch hit bat. So again, we think highly of a lot of guys in our system. I think I said this again yesterday. We know we're gonna we kind of look at it. You're gonna make trades, and you're gonna trade players if you know what you're doing from an evaluation standpoint. And our scouts do a great job. You're gonna trade guys that they're gonna get to the big leagues and potentially impact, and hopefully you're making deals that help your current team and your future teams, and you're getting talent back as well. With those 2 players, obviously you got to make evaluations of where they stack up. We'll listen on anybody. I think you owe it to the team, the organization, just to listen. But we think as highly of Leo and Ethan as any guys we've had in the system here. We've had some great ones in the last 10 years. And it's cool too. You get into the process, and internally you have your own, opinions of those players. But when you kind of get into the trade deadline, you get a sense of what the industry thinks, and I think they kind of share that opinion. So for us, we think they're huge parts of our future, and obviously really happy to see what their development's going to look like here in the next few years and coming up to Petco and being part of our core.
AJ, we were talking earlier about your ability to restock the farm system seemingly year after year, especially when you have big trades like you had in 22 and trades like you had this trade deadline. There's a portion of the fan base, though, that looks at those trades yesterday and they go, AJ sold the farm. He sold the farm for some bullpen pieces. I was just curious, how do you respond to that, the idea of, quote unquote, selling the farm? Because you've got that ability of restocking the farm every year. Is that just a total confidence in yourself?
No, I mean, I think the depth of the system at least gives us options. There's been years where we've made trades. There's been times where we haven't made deals at the deadline. So I think we have a great scouting group. Chris Kemp on the amateur side, Pete DeYoung on the pro side. And on the international side, our group does a great job. So that gives us the ability to at least have these conversations. It's not, we definitely aren't flippant. Like, we understand, like, it's really hard to get really good young players. And you can't just flip, snap your fingers and go get 2 or 3 more. There's a huge process. It takes a lot of time. But we've got a group that's, they work really hard and they're good at it. So that at least enables us to have these conversations. We've kind of been through this the last few years where I think after some of the moves in 20 or 22, it was kind of like, all right, well, now they've sold the farm, quote unquote. And then a few months later, there are some other guys. And I think this year, the same thing. We felt like internally we have a lot of pitching depth, and some of which has been identified by the industry, some of which internal. I think for us, we feel like that was an area of strength, and that was an area we could at least listen to in these deals. And you've got to be willing to give something to get something. No teams call up and we'll take your 70th ranked player for some of real value. So I think our scouts do a great job. Our development staff does a good job, and that gives us those options to make some decisions. And I think this year with the deadline, we felt like we traded some really good, especially the pitching prospects that you mentioned. But we've got some guys that we feel like internally in the system that we've identified that we think are going to be really good for us as well.
I heard you say that yesterday, and I know you don't ever want to tip your hand or play favorites, but I'm curious about a couple of those guys who may not have hit the rankings yet or having good seasons that you've got your eye on. Can you share anything about some of the guys that you're excited about with the arms in your system?
Yeah, I mean, it was that we had so many calls from other teams as well about guys like Francis Pena, Henry Baez, and Isaiah Lowe. I think if you go on Giannis on Twitter, he identifies them every night. I feel like, we feel like we got guys that that internally we feel really good about, and that's just a few. That's just to name a few. I think from our standpoint, again, it's fun to watch the development of a lot of these guys, in our system. And ultimately when we sat there and talked, it wasn't like we were looking at this deadline, hey, we only have these 2 prospects to deal from, or, and the other teams have to like your players. And I think for us, again, that was a huge part of our calculation internally was, having those conversations, talking about, hey, if we move so-and-so, how do we rank or evaluate, this player versus that player, knowing that the next, you always need to add to your current group and your current team with guys coming up from the system. We've had some guys come up this year and make real contribution. And, I feel really confident about what we have in the system right now, that we're going to have some guys show up here, maybe in the next few months, but definitely into the next few years that are going to really contribute from the pitching side especially.
Well, AJ, I really appreciate it. Hope you got some rest last night, and good luck to the team. Great way to start post All-Star break with last night's win. That was a heck of a lot of fun, and it's good to talk to you again this morning.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
There he is, AJ Preller, president of baseball operations, general manager for the San Diego Padres, and breaking the chat by mentioning, a Padres fan and observer that we all follow in Too Much Morton's. Giannis, and he got a pool. He's watching. Yeah, he's aware of what's going on out there. There's no doubt about that. And some of the names like Isaiah Lowe that he brought up that he thought were pushing, honestly, some of the guys that he traded. And keep in mind, and people like Keith Law in the industry who evaluated the trade, made this point yesterday. The Padres traded a lot of guys who stocks were falling this year. Mm-hmm. Not the guys on the rise, but, Lesko, who struggled this year. Snelling has struggled this year. Yeah, they were the names to watch at the start of the year with high expectations and ranked in Baseball America's top 100. They weren't having good seasons, though, and maybe the new organizations fixed them. Maybe it was temporary and they got a good deal here, or maybe they weren't going to work out. And they've got other guys that they feel better about because the trajectory is a positive one as opposed to a negative one right now with some of the guys that they did trade yesterday.
Yeah, you think of those teams that were sellers and They're not going anywhere this year. They may not even be going anywhere next year. Those are the teams that are like, yeah, I see something there. Like, we might be able to break through with this pitcher or this player or whatever and maybe get something out of them. But the Padres, while you're always building the future, we are in so much more of a win now mode that you have to make those moves.
If you want to comment on anything you heard AJ say, we can open the phone lines back up, 833-288-0973. However, at the bottom of the hour, I know people are asking, where's AJ on a Big League Wednesday? It's Adam Jones' birthday, so we're giving him the day off. He's going to join us tomorrow.
Yes.
But we do have Brett Boone coming up at the bottom of the hour, so it's still a partially Big League Wednesday. I mean, Skip Schumacher, AJ Preller, and Brett Boone is a pretty big Big League Wednesday lineup. So more calls, more talk about last night's game, and Booney at the bottom of the hour, still ahead after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Hi, good insight from AJ Preller. If you missed it, the Odyssey app is just right there for you to go back and rewind it to 8 o'clock, or you can catch it later on our YouTube or podcast versions of the Ben and Woods program. Welcome back. We got Brett Boone joining us at the bottom of the hour in just about 10 minutes. So it was pretty clear. Obviously, AJ Preller is gambling a little bit with the starting rotation. And we're going to see some combination of, in the 4th and 5th starters the rest of the year. Randy Vasquez, obviously. Martin Perez. Johnny Brito. Brian Hoeing might get some kind of opener-type starts. I mean, you're going to have to, with 53 games remaining, even if you skip guys, and you don't want to skip too many off days because you're trying to save innings on Michael King's arm and keep guys as fresh as possible if you do make it to October. So you feel like you're still going to need another, 16 to 18 starts from your 4th and 5th starters, at least, the rest of the way. That's a lot to gamble here when you don't have. Now, Joe Musgrove may get some of those if he comes back healthy. Yu Darvish may get some of those if he ever returns. But, again, you can't guarantee that either of them are going to either come back healthy in the case of Musgrove or even effectively. I mean, Joe may come back. Is he going to be Joe? What's he going to have in the tank? What's he going to look like? Is he going to take 5 or 6 starts for him to really get locked in? That'd be great if he does when he get to the playoffs. But if you don't get to the playoffs, it doesn't matter how well Joe Musgrove is pitching at the end of September. You have to get there for that to matter. So there's a bit of a gamble here. And I understand, they went down a couple of tracks. There's only limited things you can do with, especially it sounded like he did not want to trade Ethan Salas and Leodalis DeVries, because you could have had Crochet. You could have had Flaherty for sure. If you had dangled either of those guys based on what, we've heard, you could have had either of them, but you would have needed to dangle at least one of those two guys. And they did not want to do that. So bit of a gamble here going forward in the starting rotation.
Yeah, I mean, again, I liked the moves that were made yesterday. I think the Padres are better yesterday than they were before the trades. But there was that concern about the rotation, and that definitely is still there with me. Like, that didn't go away just because they got, Martin Perez. Like, I'm still nervous, but I wonder if that just shows you that AJ is more confident than maybe we think about somebody like Joe Musgrove returning.
Yeah, to me, it's quintessential AJ, though. You look at what does he do in the draft? He tries to identify the most talented player possible. And what he saw at this trade deadline was the bullpen arms that he could get were just better. He had more electric guys in the bullpen than were available starting pitching-wise. And the starters just didn't blow anyone's hair back that were available at the trade deadline. But the relievers, Adam, Scott, those guys are really, really good. And he goes, would I rather get 2 really good players, and I know, all right, they're going to the bullpen, and we'll take our chances with the starters, or should I just get, spend a ton like the Astros did for Yusei Kikuchi and get a guy who's not even pitching well right now? And who knows, he may hurt you more. He may hurt them more than he helps them going down the stretch. Pretty sure that the bullpen guys, for however many, innings they've got and what they've got, they're going to help the Padres going forward. There's no guarantee that a starting pitcher actually helps you. There's no guarantee Martin Perez is any help at all. We certainly saw Vince Velasquez and Jake Arrieta were negative help for the Padres in 2021. So why pick up one of those guys when you know these two guys, as much as you can in baseball, they are really good relief pitchers and should be really good relief pitchers for you for at least the rest of this season. I mean, that's AJ, right?
Yeah.
He's not,
Absolutely.
he drafts that way. He acquires players that way. Doesn't care what position
fearless.
they play. 9 shortstops? Fine. They're the best 9 players I can get. We'll move Jackson Merrill if we have to. We'll figure it out. I want the best baseball players on my team, and then we'll let the manager figure it out. Now, was Bob Melvin able to figure it out? Not really. Has Mike Schilt been able to figure it out? A little bit better than other managers have been able to figure it out for the madness that is A.J. Preller. So we'll see. We will see going forward. Would I feel better if they had a one more solid starter in the mix? Of course. Of course, you'd feel a lot better about it. But I don't feel bad about this team, that's for sure. They're a pretty good baseball team.
Caught me right when I was drinking some water.
Pretty good baseball team.
Fun.
All right.
They are fun.
All right, we'll get Brett Boone's thoughts on the Padres'
he was
moves
very excited yesterday.
at the trade deadline, last night's game, what else went on around Major League Baseball. Always get good conversations with Boone, our Odyssey podcast colleague. When we come back next year, it's Ben, it's Paul, with Woods on vacation on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Baseball coverage of 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile. You can get tons of benefits and still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Use their savings calculator to find out how at T-Mobile.com/switch. Starting to think we need to get Brett Boone his own walk-up music at some point, you know?
Good idea.
So we'll ask him about that.
What his walk-up song was.
He's standing by. I don't remember. I mean, obviously I was there when he was at the Q and playing for the Padres. I could not tell you what his walk-up song was.
I'm getting a little PTSD here. When he was on the 2001 Mariners, that team that just dominated, their theme song for the year that year, Boone remembers this, it was Who Let the Dogs Out.
Oh, God.
They played
really?
it like 10
the
times
Baja
a game,
Man.
every game. Remember
Wow.
that, Boone?
I do.
Go ahead and
That
check
was your
traffic,
walk-up
or do
song,
you
though.
want? We'll wait for traffic. All right. What was your walk-up song then?
Actually, rest in peace. The lead singer of Crazy Town passed away recently, I heard. But
Yeah.
my walk-up song, and I expect somebody to cue it up, and I would really like to be introduced with it. It was Butterfly by Crazy Town. Tremendous tune.
All right.
Yeah,
you've
we
got-
did that.
You'll know what I'm saying. If you cue it up, you'll know what I'm saying.
No, we played it a few weeks ago. He did pass away recently, and
Woods has always got
Woodsy-
thoughts on every great musician.
like Woodsy met him, the lead singer, and we talked about it. Is that it?
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well,
All right, now we
Brett
got
Boone
it.
has his walk-up song now. And by the way, we are joined right now by Odyssey MLB insider Brett Boone. Insider, go ahead, Boone. I'm not going to interrupt you if you want to say some more on the music.
No, I was laughing. I love that walk-up song. I love it.
It's yours now. Insider calls are presented by Grainger with supplies and solutions for every industry. Grainger has the right product for you. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Brett, also the host of the Brett Boone podcast, featuring the most notable names in MLB and around sports every week. Now, I understand you're also calling us from the islands, just like Woodsy did earlier this morning. Are you sharing a house with Woods right now?
Has he hit you up yet?
I am not. I've been out on my porch here for about 2 hours.
That's early. That's
The
very.
wife is sleeping. The wife is sleeping inside. I don't think I've woken up any of the neighbors, but no, just a little R&R.
Nice.
4 or 5. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a vacation guy. You know, I'm a golf vacation guy.
Me too.
But I'm not a vacation guy. There's only so many hours I can log on the beach and at the pool and drinking my virgin pina coladas. There's just only so much I can do it. So without telling anybody, I'm kind of excited. I'm coming home in a couple days.
Well, you'll have plenty to
I feel
talk.
like I'm a little spoiled.
Plenty to talk about, and you still did the Boone podcast. You had Jim Bowden, the GM, on to break down everything that went on at the trade deadline. I know you talked about the Padres' moves, adding more bullpen pieces, including Tanner Scott yesterday. Your thoughts? We just talked to A.J. Preller as well on what he did at the deadline, Booney.
You know, I didn't know what to expect just because I don't think from a team standpoint, I don't think the inventory is quite there. You know, the big name, you were thinking of a Scooble and a Crochet. Are they going to move? And when you look at the Padres with Musgrove and Darvish being out, you know, that's a clear thing is, they need a starting pitcher to kind of bolster that rotation. But I think Preller went the other way. He went out and got the best bullpen arms available. We got a Jason Adam and a Tanner Scott, who's got a 1-1 down there in Miami, to add to a Suarez. You know, that they moved De Los Santos and they brought in these two power arms. And I think, you know, the more you look at it, with the Padres offense kind of coming alive, these teams are playing really good. You know, 8 out of their last 10. Bogarts is back. You're just crossing your fingers that Tatis comes back and is healthy and can help up. Machado hitting 2 home runs last night. What a game last night. Merrill, Machado and Merrill hitting the 2 home runs in the 9th, and then Solano finishing it off. This team is vibing right now. They're playing well. They're in a wild card spot as we speak, chasing the Dodgers down. But I really like these additions. I think never more so than in current times, 2024, is a power bullpen been kind of the way people build their teams and seems to be like a real good formula going into the postseason. So instead of addressing that starting pitcher, and obviously the Scoobles
and the Crochets were not going to be available. Nobody ended up landing them. They went the other route and just bolstered that bullpen, and I think they did really good for themselves. I think they were one of the winners in this at this trade deadline. Padres are definitely in my top 4 of the winners at making their team better.
Yeah, it was an interesting deadline because it was busy. There were a lot of trades by volume, but I saw there was no, Juan Soto traded. There's no future Hall of Famers, and there were no even top 100 prospects traded, at least according to current rankings from most, farm system rankings outlets. So it was more on the volume side of it. What were some of the notables? The price tag for Yusei Kikuchi seemed high. The one for Jack Flaherty seemed a little low, surprisingly, but then we find out later that maybe he had some medical concerns that torpedoed a deal with the Yankees. What were some of your other takeaways from yesterday, Brett?
Well, I was really kind of surprised that the Rays, although at this stage of the game, I don't question the Tampa Bay Rays. They've had so much success with overturning a roster, it seems like, on a yearly basis. You don't even know who's playing on their team year to year, and consistently they find their way into the postseason. I was a little surprised they dealt away so many guys, only being 3.5 out of the wild card. That was a little bit of surprise to me. The others weren't. Chicago getting rid of everybody they could. The Miami Marlins moving as much inventory as they can. Dodgers came in late with a Flaherty. And we're going to see how big of a move that was. Flaherty a year ago getting moved at the deadline ended up being a bust. But I think from what I'm hearing from Tigers people is it's a different Jack Flaherty than it's been in the past. He's turned the corner and is going to be an entity for the Dodgers. The Dodgers, they're an interesting case because they're probably the deepest team in baseball, but they've had their share of injuries this year. Mookie currently sits on the IL. Max Muncy's been out pretty much the entire season. You lose Yamamoto. Glasnow's been on and off the IL. He was back last night. You finally get a Kershaw back, but you lose a Buehler. So Flaherty, that's going to be a rush to that clubhouse that's going to help them out. Dodgers are going to be a good team. But it's going to be interesting to see how Jack Flaherty responds. Is it that finally has he made the turn in his big league career and going to be that guy that you don't want to face in the postseason? Time will tell. I liked what the Mariners did. I liked as much as I liked what the Padres did. I liked what the Mariners did. There weren't those bona fide big offensive, like you said, Soto, a juggernaut, someone that's going to make a difference. The only guy I saw out there that might have been available, that ended up not being available, was a Vladimir Guerrero. And Jim Bowden told me on the Monday podcast, he said, Bowie, they're not gonna move Vladdy at any cost. And I kind of believed him, but it ended up being true. They didn't move him. And you look around the game on the teams that are winning, poised in position for the postseason, they had their players, and the teams that were selling didn't have that big star offensive. You can make a case for a Robert out of the Chicago White Sox, but I think a lot of teams didn't trust him. They trust the skill set. They know it's a star skill set, but he seems to have a tough time staying on the field. So when it was all said and done, there were no stars moved, but like you said, a lot of volume and a lot of good players changing addresses.
I agree with you that most of the teams did make sense. One team that I didn't understand what they were doing is the San Francisco Giants, who traded away Jorge Soler, and then they traded away Alex Cobb, but then they didn't trade Blake Snell because they said we're still kind of in it, and then they lose, and now they're 5 games out in the wild card. Any thoughts on where the Giants are and what they were possibly doing up there?
Well, I can only compare because you think you try to get little certain points of the season where you say, okay, now we know what our team is. Well, I pay close attention to the Padres. I also pay close attention to the Seattle Mariners. 5 weeks ago, the Seattle Mariners were up 10 games in the division. Before last night, they were in second place. So it just shows me how quick the standings can change in a short term. Look at the San Francisco Giants. And they ended up moving Soler. But I look at that rotation now. So Snell coming off a 15 punch-out game. You got a Robbie Ray, who's a few years removed from a Cy Young. You've got a Blake Snell You've got a Webb, a Hicks, and a Harrison. You look up and down the National League and the starting rotations. Very few rival that. Now, if all those guys pitch like they potentially can, that's as formidable as a starting rotation as I see. Yeah, they're 5 games out. They're not going to win the division in the National League West. But for me, with that rotation, you get hot, you can do a lot of damage. So, yeah, it's not the best place to be sitting right now, 5 games out of the wild card. But at the same time, you look at that rotation, and they get that's a rotation that potentially can rattle off, 15 of 20. So I wouldn't count them out. And I think that's why I think their general manager was looking at that situation going, wow, you got Snell, Ray, and Webb, and you get them rolling. You can put together some pretty good winning streak. So I wouldn't count them out by any means.
Fair, but then they didn't get anybody to help them go on that run.
Yeah,
so it's kind of
right.
they played this. They just kind of sat on the fence a little bit.
No, but Ben, I look at it this way. I look at it like the Texas Rangers. They're as of yesterday. Now they're 4.5 out. They were 3.5 out of the division. They're if they get to the playoffs, it's not going to be via wild card. It's probably going to be the division, because I think that division in the AL West is as vulnerable as it's ever been. But you look at a Texas and a Chris Young who's been on the field for a long time, so he has that player player mentality versus the general manager mentality. I think there's a mix there, but he's still got that player side to him. He's looking at a team and going, wait a minute, we won a World Series a year ago. The offense hasn't been anywhere close to what it was a year ago, but I still have the pieces. I still have the Seagers and the Simeons and the Garcias who are star quality offensive players. Now all of a sudden, I have a DeGrom waiting in the wings. Is he going to come back and be the DeGrom? We know how Scherzer going to pitch. I know I've got Eovaldi. Bradford just came back, so he's thinking, I'm not gonna say we're not going to be in the postseason, but I'm not going to say we are going to be in the postseason either. So they really kind of didn't do much. They sent on Lorenzen because they had an overcapacity of starting pitching, so they did move Lorenzen, but they just kind of stood pat. And they weren't selling out, saying we're not going to be there, but they're not going for it either.
Talking to Brett Boone, Insider Calls are brought to you by Granger. And speaking of going for the division, got to ask, after the win last night, what a game at Petco Park. Down 5-0, walk off the Dodgers in the 10th. Padres are 5.5 games out. They just bolstered their bullpen. The Dodgers remain beset by some injuries. They did, as you mentioned, added Jack Flaherty, added Tommy Edman, added a couple of other pieces at the All-Star, or at the deadline. Can the Padres, do you think, make a run actually at the Dodgers in the NL West over these last 2 months?
Without a doubt. I just told you with the Seattle Mariners and how they gave up that lead. Anything is possible, of course. But I think in this day and age, and history is starting to prove it out, it's just getting a seat at the table, Ben. And I think that should be everybody's strategy at this stage of the game. Being healthy, going into the postseason, and just having a seat at the table. And it doesn't matter whether you win the division. I think as a player, from a player standpoint, it's always rewarding to be able to sit there at the end of the season and have that, and win that division and have that celebration. But if you're looking at it just strictly for all business, it's just having a seat at the table that is all that matters. Because I think it's as easy as it's ever been to get to the postseason. I just really think with so many rounds in the playoffs, it's probably the hardest time it's ever been to actually win the World Series with so many variables and it's all about getting hot at the right time. I think a year ago it proved it. The Texas Rangers obviously were a really good team, one of the best offensive teams in the game a year ago. But if you look at that roster up and down, that starting rotation, that bullpen, to say that they were going to win the World Series, no chance. I would have loved to go back and see what the Vegas odds were. And then we don't even need to talk about Arizona. Going through Philly, being down 2 in the most chaotic atmosphere I've ever seen, and to end up coming back and winning 3 and moving on to the World Series after that series last year, I'll never say never about anything. So I think it's about getting a seat at the table. Of course, you want to push the Dodgers. You want to push the envelope, especially when you go head-to-head and make it exciting. But I think from a business perspective, it's all about getting a seat at the table. But I know what those players are thinking of that clubhouse. They're hot. They just got a big adrenaline rush by getting those bullpen arms. They're feeling good about themselves. So by all means, as a player right now, I'm not thinking wild card. I'm thinking let's go catch those Dodgers and beat their butt.
Great stuff, Boney. I'll let you get back to doing ridiculously early morning radio interviews on the vacation that you don't really want to be on anymore anyway.
No, I don't want to sound too spoiled. I like it.
No, don't worry. No one's listening. It's fine. Don't worry.
That's right.
Boney, we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
There he was, Odyssey MLB insider Brett Boone. Insider Calls, again, presented by Grainger with supplies and solutions for every industry. Grainger is the right product for you. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. All right, he says the division's in play. It's a little different, like the Astros chasing down the Mariners versus the Padres trying to chase down the Dodgers in terms of, like payroll and resources. Dodgers have more than the Mariners do. You kind of expect the Mariners to collapse against the Astros charge.
It'd be the Mariners chasing the Astros.
Yeah, it's a little different story, but he's got confidence that the Padres have a shot at it. We'll talk a little bit more about that right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your trusted instant drive-thru oil change. Got an accident clearing stage on eastbound 905 right at the North 805 connector. Two separate crashes, one involving a motorcycle, northbound 805 right at the northbound 15 connector. Seeing a lot of residual there. Now northbound 5's jumping into the act right before Gilman. There is a collision blocking the fast lane. Cordell and Cordell traffic cam shows collision on southbound 125 near the King Freeway. Couple cars involved in this one. They're over the right shoulder. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Oil Change Centers. You don't have to get out of your car, and it usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Plus, get a free courtesy check of your tires and battery. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for directions and discounts. SoCalOilChange.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, well, let's just look at it from a clinical standpoint here. Padres, after the win last night, Paulie, are 5.5 games behind the Dodgers.
Okay, 5.5.
If they win even one of their remaining 4 games against the Dodgers, they take the season series and would have the tiebreaker. Obviously, if you want to catch them, you got to probably win 3 of those 4. That would get you 2 games closer. And then you've got the rest of the games that you're playing the rest of the season. Another 48 to 50 games for both teams that you'd have to outplay the Dodgers by a couple of games, like 2.5 games the rest of the way. Is that possible? Well, looking at the remaining schedules, I can tell you the Dodgers have a tougher schedule than the Padres. Dodgers still have to play 3 against the Phillies, 4 at the Brewers. They've got 3 against the Orioles. They've got 3 against the Guardians. Padres did well against those 2 teams. Can the Dodgers match? They got 4 at the Atlanta Braves. They do have some easier series. They got the Rockies. They got the Marlins, and they got the A's still to come. But for the most part, their schedule is a little bit tougher. The Padres have still their games against the White Sox, still have 3 more against the Marlins, who are absolutely decimated. They have to take care of business against the Rockies in the remaining 2 series, the way they didn't do. All of this, of course, is predicated on the Padres doing what they couldn't do in the first half, taking care of business against teams like the Angels and the Rockies.
Beating the teams you are absolutely
You're not going to catch the Dodgers by going 500 against the White Sox and the Marlins. Right. You need to win maybe all of those or 5 out of 6 of those to have a chance. But honestly, the math is there that the Padres could do this. And by the way, they've won 11 of their last 12 against teams with losing records.
4-game series against the Mets is going to be huge later
Sure,
in
that's
August.
for the wild card. That's huge. The games against the Pirates, huge for the wild card. But to catch the division, you got to beat up on those bad teams when you've got the opportunity, because the Dodgers do have a tough schedule. We'll come back. We got all the calls of the walk-off by Donovan Solano and the Incorporator still to come here on The Fan. You know, it dawned on me, and our thanks again to Brett Boone. Been a really good show so far this morning. Dawned on me that when Woodsy is not here, that the entire show is essentially a Reindl report.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because you got to step up your game even more and fill some of Woodsy's shoes while he's gone with the content and the commentary throughout. So we don't really need to do necessarily a Reindl report per se, because you're already chiming in with
I would have
different
just wanted to play all the calls
scoops and stories.
Anyways.
I mean, if you're dying to tell me about, you know, the contract extension for DJ Moore and the Bears, we could get into that at some point.
Not sure that would have even made the Ryan report. Might have talked a little about the Olympics.
Yeah, you know what? There was
some excitement yesterday.
I watched Simone Biles and Team USA Gymnastics when I got home yesterday with my wife. She cried watching Simone Biles and the team win the gold, and then I started kind of getting a little teary because when your wife cries, it sort of makes you emotional as well. I get it. I mean, after what happened in Tokyo 3 years ago, and, you know, when she had the mental health crisis and she had to walk away, to come back is courageous and
She's
to
such a
perform
stud, man.
and do what she does. But watching the floor exercise, and I watched a couple of the other women go, and they're amazing. You know, they jump in the air and do these flips and land it, and you go, that's incredible. Then Simone Biles goes, and she is like jumping twice as high as everybody else. It's freakish. It's amazing. I mean, what she can do on that mat is unbelievable. I mean, I don't know how tall. I mean, all those gymnasts are tiny, like what, 5'2" tops.
Yeah,
I feel like she
Biles is 4'8".
4'8". I feel like she could dunk a basketball. I mean, 4'8", but she gets up so high. And I know there's a little bit of a spring on that floor mat, but not like it's not a trampoline.
Right.
It's not a vault. It's still just a mat with just kind of a springing underneath. She gets up there like it's ridiculous. So I watched that. I watched
the end of the rugby match.
That was amazing. So those women are they train in Chula Vista, and there's two San Diegans on the team. And if it, like in football terms, they were down a touchdown or like down 5 points, so down a touchdown with like the final play of the game. And they have the ball essentially like on their own 5-yard line, and they have to go the distance, and otherwise the game's over and they lose. And the one woman breaks a double tackle and then just sprints off, you know, Tony Dorsett style, all the way across the field, all the way to score the try, and then they got to kick the extra point essentially to win it as a walk-off to win the bronze medal, first ever medal in rugby for any USA rugby team, and they're from San Diego, which was really cool. The soccer team advanced to the quarterfinals with a 3-0 win over Guinea yesterday, and there's a lot more today. Swimming, obviously, continuing. USA basketball, South Sudan is
big
coming
money
up
on that one.
Yeah, he's got big money on the U.S. to cover 29.5 points, I believe, against the team they beat by 1 like 5 days ago. So we'll see how that goes for Woodsy. But yeah, there's pretty much around the report. So just took care of it in the first 3 minutes of this hour. We've got our roundtable coming up, presented by Roundtable Pizza at 10 o'clock, commercial free. Paulie, you will not be a part of that. You're filling in for Woods here, but Sammy will be filling in for Woods on the roundtable with Annie and Elston and Gwen and Chris as we talk about the trade deadline and the Padres going into the final 2 months of the season.
I know he was down there obviously yesterday. A lot of pregame conversations that he had in the clubhouse with guys. Saw some of the videos that he posted on Instagram yesterday, like Luis Arise. Like did you see his face light up when they asked him about Tanner Scott coming? He's like, oh, yeah, he's my best friend. He's like, I can't wait to be on his team again. Like, I don't know if he's going to be here today, or maybe I got to wait till tomorrow, but I can't wait. Like, he was beaming.
I mean, after hearing Skip Schumacher's scouting report, it sounds like everybody loves Tanner Scott.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to see Jason Adam get into a game. They didn't use him yesterday. I'd imagine with the bullpen usage last night, though, Adam and Scott will be key in tonight's game at some point for the Padres with a day off tomorrow. I would expect both of those guys perhaps to make their Padres debut tonight in Game 2 against the Dodgers at 5:40. 4:40 EcoWater's SoCal pregame show. So Sammy's got a busy day with the roundtable going all the way to the pregame show. But I also listened to his postgame show because I wanted to hear Jesse's calls, including the walk-off by Donovan Solano. And we've collected all the walk-off calls. Now, remember, it was a very interesting 9th inning that led up, or 10th inning that led up to the walk-off by Donovan Solano.
could say
Robert
that.
Suarez, top of the inning, just absolute shutdown. Doesn't let the Dodgers score the runner at second base. So Ha-Sung Kim made the last out of the ninth. So he's placed out on second. So you got good speed out there. Kyle Higashioka is coming up, and I saw it suggested on Twitter. In fact, it might be from the now infamous and famous Giannis, who said, I would actually pinch hit Donovan Solano here. Even though Higgy's been pretty clutch and he's right-handed, Donovan's just been so good. Give him a chance right away. Well, they didn't, and I think that worked out for Mike Shildt because they pitched around Kyle Higashioka. They didn't intentionally walk him, but the first three pitches weren't that close. They obviously weren't. They didn't mind putting him on first base. They wanted to set up the potential double play and the force. So that brought up Luis Arraez, Mr. Base hit, Mr. Contact. Already had a walk-off single against the Dodgers earlier this season on an amazing Friday night, one of the other amazing games. But Mike Shildt didn't give him the chance to walk it off. Instead, called for the bunt there against Alex Vezia, fouled one off, then got it down and moved the runners to second and third. And in my mind, I instantly thought, I don't know about this. Here's what I would then do if I'm Dave Roberts. I would intentionally walk Jurickson Profar, the very relevant Jurickson Profar. I'm not going to give him another chance to beat me, so I'm going to walk him to load the bases, set up a potential inning-ending double play or at least a force at home on a ground ball for the lefty-lefty matchup, Jake Cronenworth against Vesia. Now, Crony's had big at-bats against Vesia, including a very famous one in the rain in the playoffs, if I remember correctly, but it's still lefty-lefty, and you hit a hard grounder to first or second, you're ending the inning, you're going to the 11th. It's not exactly the matchup I want, but you're not going to pinch hit your number 3 hitter in that situation, right? No. Mike Shildt says, yeah, we are going to pinch hit Donovan Solano for Jake Cronenworth, which is okay. That's bold. That is a bold decision by Mike Shildt. Is it going to pay off for him with Donnie Barrels, who has only played like one game since the All-Star break? He's been sitting there on the bench waiting to be used. Is he still hot? Do we have any idea what Donovan Solano is going to do? He falls behind in the count 1-2. I'm going, oh, God, this is not going to work out. And then, of course, he walks it off. Now, before that, as he's coming to the plate, Dave Roberts sends out his pitching coach like, oh, we need to give you the scouting report on Donovan Solano. We weren't necessarily expecting. Yeah, Mark Pryor goes out. We need to give Vesia the scouting report here. And then it seemed like Dave thought, well, maybe I need to make a pitching change. Now, I didn't think about that. So he tries to then, after Mark Pryor goes out, to go out and make a pitching change. But you can't do that. You have to either make the change or let the batter face the pitcher there. Let the hit pitcher face the batter. And Dave Roberts actually talked about it after the game on Spectrum Sportsnet.
Can you explain just, you had a lot of questions about what happened with the umpires and then calling the ball there. Just, I guess, what did they explain to you, I guess?
Well, the one I went out there is I just wanted to clarify that Mark went out there to talk to Alex after they pinch hit Solano, and I was asking if I could bring in Evan at that moment, and then once he already visited, then he's got to face a hitter. So, yeah.
Intentional walk counts as facing the hitter.
Correct.
So you're saying you didn't know the rule, or you did, but
He's
you were
explaining,
hoping that maybe they would just let you have a freebie or something there?
He kind of explained to us the rule as if that wasn't super common knowledge.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but you weren't clarifying that Mark Pryor went out. Mark Pryor definitely went out and talked to Vesia.
You didn't go out there to ask the manager, hey, I wasn't looking. Did my pitching coach actually just go out there? You were not clarifying.
You sent him out there. He definitely was standing out there for
You were going out to make a
30
move, and
seconds
the
or
umpires
so
stopped you.
talking. Now, maybe you weren't ready to bring in Phillips, and you were trying to stall, and you went with, hey, Mark Pryor, go out and stall, and then when he went out there, you realized, well, now I can't bring him in. He's got to face Solano. The bases are loaded. I got nowhere to put him. What am I going to do? Well, maybe I'll just go out and ask the umpire anyway. What's the worst thing that can happen? Well, he did get charged with a pitch clock violation for just stalling the game for no reason. They say, you can't change your pitcher, and we got to at least ding you for something. So you've taken too long. It's now 1-0, the count on at least Donovan Solano. I don't know if that changed the at-bat or not, but I'm sure Vesia wasn't all that happy. So, okay, I got to face this guy, and now I'm behind the count 1-0. Thanks a lot.
Cool.
Thanks a lot
Doc.
to my manager for doing that and putting me in the hole. He did battle back. As I said, he was ahead But then we know what happened, and we've got all the calls here for you.
Where do we want to start?
Let's get to them.
It's been a while since.
Yeah, let's start with Jesse.
Padres wrap up. We'll start with the great Jesse Agler.
Ball and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch on the way. Solano swings, hits a ground ball past the dive of Hernandez down the left field line to win it. Kim scores. Solano walks it off, and the Padres come back from a 5-0 deficit to beat the Dodgers in 10.
This team has no quit in them at all. Down 5-0 in the first. Chip away, tie it in the 9th, win it in the 10th.
Excellent. Excellent call, both Tony Gwynn Jr. and Jesse Agler. Then, of course, there was the TV call, maybe one of Don's best.
I'd put it on the Mount Rushmore of Don Orsillo calls.
It's possible.
We get like 1, maybe 2 a year, it feels like. Into a sea of San Diegans.
You know sometimes when it's a home run, it's a sea of San Diegans, and you play the hits, but this was different. This was a grounder down the line. This was great.
So fired up.
Solano on the ground to left! Kim's coming from third! The Dodgers had a 5-0 lead! Not anymore! Padres walk it up!
Unbelievable.
Oh,
short,
that man
sweet,
can
and
get
to the
excited.
point, but my God, did he hammer it
That
home.
man can muster excitement like really no one else. It's absolutely fantastic. All right, let's go the other side of the coin.
All right.
Got the sad calls or call.
Joe Davis, man of few words. Also, again, kind of tough to hear him with the roar of the crowd.
We established earlier their TV audio mix much worse than the Padres audio mix.
Vesia's 1-2 pitch. Padres win. Donovan Solano with a pinch hit base hit down the left field line. And after they led 5-0, they lose 6-5.
All true. Yeah. Got the facts, just the facts, ma'am. And let's go out and go back to our hotel for the night and just scrub this one.
The Dodgers radio team, they painted the picture a little bit more.
They were more sad on the Jackson Merrill home run. I wonder if they were more sad on this one.
Vesia stretching. Left-hander ready to fire. Here comes the 1-2. Swung on ground ball. Ball game's over. Third base side. Past Kike Hernandez. And the Padres come all the way back. It's a pinch hit, walk-off hit for Donovan Solano. Padres win it 6-5. The Dodgers had a 5-0 lead and let it slip away. 2 home runs in the bottom of the 9th. One by Machado, another by Merrill. And Solano off the bench after watching all night. Gets a base hit down the third base line and wins the game for San Diego.
You couldn't even get Donovan Solano out after he's just been sitting there all night. Come on, what are you guys
Not
doing?
even paying attention. All right, time for the foreign calls. We've got just the Spanish call. I could not find.
Oh, we had such a great Merrill call of the Korean call. I know we're kind of at the mercy of what gets posted out there.
I've been asked a few times, like, Paulie, where do you find these Korean calls? Like, I want to watch a whole game that way. I don't.
You just hope someone posted on Twitter somewhere.
Usually sends me. There's like one guy, Joseph on Twitter, that posts all these Korean highlights, but he's been kind of quiet lately. He did post the Merrill one. That's how we were able to find that one.
And then he went to sleep. Apparently,
apparently he missed the more exciting one. But
we got Eddie though.
I've been looking to try to find like the Korean feeds, and it's very difficult. You have to be like in Korea on an Android phone. It's an Android app.
Eduardo, we thought, had the best call of
Here's
the Merrill.
Eduardo's Merrill
tying home run again. Here's
3-22. Lanzamiento, palo por la derecha. Se puede empatar el juego. Esa bola vuela. Se va. Sí. A la calle. Jackson en acción. Merrill. Empata el juego en la 9ª entrada y los Padres vuelven.
So good. He was starting to like test the limits of the microphone there on the headset. So that was in the bottom of the 9th. What did it sound like in the bottom of the 10th? Eduardo Ortega on the call. Enjoy.
Es un momento importantísimo para el juego. Se prepara el zurdo, Vesia para la goma. Rola en la línea. ¡Se acabó el juego! ¡Ganaron los Padres! Solano. ¡Viva Colombia! El barranquillero deja en el terreno los Valles con una rola entre el guante de Kike Hernández y la almohadilla en la esquina caliente. Ganaron los Padres, 6 carreras a 5. Caballo que alcanza gana.
Get that man a new headset.
They're gonna need a
It cannot handle. It cannot handle peak Eduardo Ortega. No. Oh. My ears are stinging here from the overmodulation
I tried
of that
to turn
call.
it down. Now imagine it's 4:45 in the morning and you're pulling that. You're like, whoa, okay, I'm awake.
We're not even in a neighborhood, and I'm worried that we wake up the neighbors
I'm
with
awake.
that. Oh, fantastic. Padres win it 6-5 in walk-off fashion. So that's now 8 wins in their last 9 games. And they were one hit away from essentially a 9-game winning streak if they could have pulled off the rest of that comeback on Sunday that fell just a little bit short. Then again, there's a couple of games could have gone the other way. I mean, you need some breaks, obviously, to put together a long winning streak. But Padres got the win, and it was pretty big because, as I told you yesterday, I've started doing some scoreboard watching. And it was a big one. We'll talk about the rest of the National League pennant race, and a little more Jesse Agler had the incorporator, song lyric incorporator for the first time in the game yesterday. We'll get to that coming up. First, a check of traffic, and then more. Bennett Woods on the way on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. It's been a busy and fun morning when it takes us 3 hours and 23 minutes to get to the incorporator payoff from yesterday. But Jesse, we had him on in his normal Tuesday slot. But instead of a weird vocabulary word, which we've been doing for the last several years with Jesse on Incorporator Tuesdays, we do you still have the play-by-play from
the setup. It's
the
got
minor league? Okay, so we set it up for
it doesn't
you.
have the setup, but I have the setup, but it doesn't
have the play-by-play.
Yes.
So we listened to a minor league broadcaster for whatever reason, just started dropping "Carry On My Wayward Son" lyrics into a home run call. Didn't really make a ton of sense.
And it's a deep fly ball to right field, and that ball is carry on, my wayward son.
There'll be peace when you are done.
He sounded kind of depressed.
Wasn't
to be
sure,
doing it, like he lost a bet.
But it gave us the idea to freshen things up with Jesse that we could do incorporator song lyrics. And, well, since we had just heard a Kansas song and a minor league broadcaster try to do it, here was our challenge to Jesse. So I thought, okay, let's freshen up the incorporator. Let's have Jesse incorporate a song lyric, a line into the game somewhere tonight. Doesn't have to be on a home run call like that guy. You can do better than that. I know you can. And we took a lot of suggestions, but I saw one. I thought, well, it makes perfect sense. That was "Carry On My Wayward Son" by Kansas. So you're going to incorporate a Kansas lyric into tonight's game. And your lyric is...
All they are is dust in the wind.
All we are is dust in the wind. That, instead of a vocabulary word, is your incorporator lyric for tonight.
You on board? This is cool?
Love it.
I like that he was enthusiastic about it. Now, who knew what the game was going to be like? That's always, you fall behind, all of a sudden it's no longer, you don't want to have a lot of fun when you're down 5-0, but then when the comeback's on, you're like locked into the game. Where did he end up trying to get this in?
We go to the top of the 6th inning.
Okay.
So what was the score? Was it
5-3, I think.
5-3 still?
For a while there, yeah.
All right, top of the 6th inning. They had just come back from a commercial break.
1-2, hit in the air, foul out of play right
And
side.
you want to be playing, don't get me wrong, you want to be playing well enough early to be able to stay in the thick of things, but you want your best baseball to come this time of the year, second half of the season.
Yeah, the reality is if you're pitching great in September and October, any struggles you might have had in April and May are nothing but dust in the wind.
That's right.
1-2 to Teoscar Hernandez leading off here in the top of the 6th inning.
Too easy.
Tony. Yeah, that's right.
The reality is if you're pitching great in September and October, any struggles you might have had in April and May are nothing but dust in the wind.
That's right.
So, how do we think he did?
I mean, I'm going to give him a B plus. I wanted the whole line. All we are is dust in the wind.
Right.
He got the dust in the wind part in, which he did it very effectively. That was almost too easy, though. That's just an expression. It's tougher to get an actual lyric in just because it doesn't necessarily fit grammatically.
Sure.
Like, how are you going to say all we are is dust in the wind? Tony, I was just thinking the other day, all we are is dust in the wind. And then Tony goes, do you want to see a therapist or something, Jesse? Are you okay?
Tony says, that's right.
So he got it in, and he definitely wins.
It's a work in progress. Jesse definitely seemed on board. He seemed to enjoy the idea.
I want Woods to come back next week. Well, actually, he won't be back next week.
We have 6 days to get a submission from Woods.
Hopefully we'll get a submission from Woods, and then he'll be able to listen to the payoff when he's back next Wednesday, finally, for next week's Incorporator. But I like the idea, just kind of running out of vocabulary words. I mean, not running out, but mixes it up a little bit, maybe for the rest of the season at least to do some song lyrics going forward for Jesse. So I'll give him the win, but we can maybe up our game next week.
I think so.
Perhaps.
I think so.
So I mentioned it was important for a number of reasons that the Padres win that game last night. Obviously, you don't want to just lose to the Dodgers, but every other team, the top 6 teams in the National League wildcard race, all won yesterday, which means you're giving up ground to everybody if you lose that game. The Braves, who are on top of the National League wildcard race by half a game, they beat the Brewers 5-1. The Mets, who remain fairly hot, got a absolute gem of a pitching performance from Sean Manaea. 7 innings, 2 hits, 11 strikeouts, and he's been good for them. He's 7-4. They shut out the Twins 2-0 after routing the Twins in the first game of that series. How about the Cardinals and Tommy Pham? in his first game back after the trade deadline. Welcome back, Tommy Pham. They bring him up, I believe, as a pinch hitter with the bases loaded, and he hits a grand slam in his very first at-bat back with the St. Louis Cardinals, and they beat the Rangers 8-1. And then the Pittsburgh Pirates are hot again. They made a couple of moves at the deadline. They were a 6-2 winner over the Houston Astros, their third straight win. And the Diamondbacks, who are just a half game behind the Padres and Mets for that second and third wild card slot, after rallying from 4 down in the ninth inning on Monday, they just obliterated the Nationals 17-0. Nationals have just said, we're done. Thank you very much. We're ready to go home now. Eugenio Suarez with 3 home runs. So every National League wildcard contender has a bit of momentum now coming out of the trade deadline into the final 2 months of the season. So a loss last night would have been pretty costly for the Padres. The only team they actually gained any ground on were the San Francisco Giants, who lost to the Oakland A's, and they're now 5 games back. And
which kind of sucks. So we've won, what, 8 of 9? 7 of 8?
8 of the last 10 and 8 of the last 9, yeah.
Yeah, and you're just like, that's about as good as you can do, and yet you still can't let your foot off the gas really even a little bit. Especially in this month of August, you have some very winnable games. We talked about it earlier. That's been your issue. That was your issue in the first half of the season. It was your issue for all of last season. Like, you have to beat the teams you are supposed to beat. And then you have to compete with the teams that are at a higher level.
And that's generally how it goes, because post-trade deadline, there are more haves and more have-nots. The bad teams have gotten worse because they've traded away some players. The good teams generally get better. So generally, you do see some teams go on kind of good runs. Remember the Cardinals and their 17-game winning streak under Mike Schilt in 2021. You don't see good teams like the Padres collapse in 2021 happen very often unless there are massive injuries, something weird that happens. Generally, these teams will play better now over the last 2 months. So 500 not going to cut it. You definitely have to play above 500 baseball over these last couple of months of the season. Padres got off to a good start. I don't know, the biggest trade deadline impact so far, Jazz Chisholm has hit back-to-back 2 home run games for the New York Yankees. Just feels like he's just been invigorated with new life and leaving Miami and showing up in a pennant race, in a division race for the New York Yankees, who beat the Phillies 7-6 in 10 innings. And they seem to have stabilized a little bit after their rough start. So the Orioles probably a little more concerned now, because that's still a really close race in the National League or the American League East right now. So that's a little update on what went on in the National League wild card race last night. When we come back, we got another game tonight. Take a look ahead. Padres, Dylan Cease back on the mound, and that division race again. Why some experts from ESPN think absolutely the Padres could chase down the Dodgers in the National League West.
Okay.
We'll get to that coming up. Final segment of Ben and Woods before our roundtable at 10 o'clock. Ahead next here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I got a much better tweet of the week already than Boomer. Sorry, Howie Rose. Welcome back. Ben, Paul with you until the roundtable gets started, our roundtable pizza roundtable at 10 o'clock. Saw this just a few minutes ago from our friend Jessica Kleinschmidt, covers the A's. Guys out there, I mean, it just must be very difficult to be a woman sometimes, especially one that covers sports. And she posted a screenshot of I guess you'd call it a pickup line. And it said, "You must be glued to the phone for the deadline. All these trades going down. I'd sell the farm to acquire you. Give up whatever the asking price is. Winky tongue out emoji." And she just tweeted, "Oh no. Must get a lot of that."
I don't even want to know.
Here's the problem with the system, and I certainly understand pickup lines, bars and stuff, and
do people
and
actually
the women
use
who
pickup lines?
Yeah, I think they do.
I don't know that they do.
Well, then, I mean, they're like
nobody's ever walked
like a
up
0
in
to
real life
2%,
to a girl
yeah.
and said, "Hey, did it hurt when
but
you fell from heaven?"
Here's
Maybe
why the
Woods,
system's
but-
broken. If a woman came up to you and said that, done. I'm in. That's like, I mean, it'd be 100% effective. Like that would be. You'd absolutely have won me over. You come up with that line, and it's like, yeah, let's do whatever you want to do. Let's go. But the other way around,
but also if a girl walked up to you and said, "Hey," you'd have been like, "Hey." Like, it doesn't matter.
The
what
other
they
way
say.
around, of course, it's just creepy and sad when you're sending it to Jessica on Twitter. But she came up and she said that to someone. I'm sure they would go, "Yeah, Jess, whatever you want to do, let's go. Let's have a good time." It's like this is a totally broken system.
Yeah.
The wrong people are using the pickup lines. They're never effective.
Like our girl Katie Wu, she's told us several times. We're like, "So what's it like? What's the dating scene like in St. Louis? How does that go for you?" And she goes, "Not great, because once guys figure out like what I do, cover Major League Baseball, they get super intimidated and they don't know how to like just be normal." I feel bad for them.
I think it's
so
got to be
bad for them.
difficult. It does. All right, let's check traffic. I want to talk about this ESPN piece about the Padres chasing down the Dodgers in the National League West. Do they think it's possible still? Get to that after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Wrapping up on a busy note here, guys. Got a collision on northbound 15 on or near the Bernardo Center off-ramp. It's over the right shoulder. This vehicle struck a pole. Also traveling on eastbound 78 just before Plaza Boulevard. There's a collision in the center divide. Traveling on northbound 125 past the King Freeway. Collision in the center divide. Keep in mind, southbound 125 lanes are blocked between Hamishaw and the 54, all due to some road work. That goes on until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Westbound King Freeway's got a collision now right around 28th Street. It's over the right shoulder. And an accident on northbound 5 just before Claremont Drive. It's in the clearing stage over to the right shoulder. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So ESPN.com called this bit "Real or Not." Maybe we trademarked "Real or Fake" so they can't use that for tomorrow.
Yeah, I did that while you guys were.
This is Real or Not, and they ask questions of some of their baseball insiders, and this is Alden Gonzalez and Kylie McDaniel. And the question is, real or not, the Padres are a legitimate threat to win the National League after their reliever spree at the deadline. Not even the NL West, but the entire National League, win the pennant, and go to the World Series. Alden Gonzalez, real. And he talks about, A.J. Preller driving to pick up, top players at the deadline. And he did acknowledge, he said, Padres' biggest need of the trade deadline was starting pitching, but they pivoted to impact relievers when they couldn't meet the demands at the top of the starters market. Not getting that time a starter could ultimately hurt, but the Padres can now shorten games with the best of them. Their roster might be the most well-balanced among the NL wild card hopefuls. And that we talked a little bit about it with A.J. Preller. That shortening of the games, if let's say the Padres are fully rested in their bullpen, they got the off day coming up on Friday, another one on Monday. So they're going to have probably a day pretty soon where they have everybody available. If they have to win a game, you could theoretically get 5 innings from your starter and then go Adrian Morejon. Actually, you get 4 innings of your starter. You go Adrian Morejon in the 5th, Jeremiah Estrada in the 6th, Jason Adam in the 7th, Tanner Scott in the 8th, and Robert Suarez in the 9th.
Yep.
I mean, you could literally go 4-inning start and feel pretty good if you're up 2-0.
Yeah,
that you've got a good chance to win the game at that point. And while you don't always have those leads because you've had starters that have given up offense early, you might be able to tell your starter, hey, don't hold as much back for the 7th or 8th inning today. We're good with 5 at this point. We are very good. If you give us 5, we'd rather have 5 shutout than 8 giving up 2 or 3 runs. Now, early in the season, you might, if you're a manager, you might take 8 innings, 2 or 3 runs versus 5 innings and 1 run or no runs. But now later in the season with this kind of bullpen, you might just say, go ahead and be a little more high leverage, a little reliever mentality as a starter, and just go out there and just give me as many outs as you can and just keep them off the board, and we'll get a lead, and we can hand this thing over to this bullpen now and feel really good about our chances to win the game. So that was Alden Gonzalez. Kylie McDaniel.
And if you get like 6 innings from your starter, then you can play the matchups.
Yeah,
and
great.
You have so many options.
You got tomorrow
now
to think about. You got the next day. You're not going to do that. I don't think Mike Schultz actually going to do that very often.
You're not going to have a fully rested bullpen every day.
But, in a playoff series where maybe there's a game and then an off day and then a game and stuff, you have that possibility.
Like AJ pretty much alluded to it when we had him on at 8 o'clock this morning, that those moves were playoff moves. They're going to help you in August and September,
but they're really supposed to help you in October.
But that's why you do that.
Yeah. Kylie McDaniel also agrees. He says, real. Padres sat at 63% playoff odds entering Tuesday. Imagine with a win, although since everyone else win, it's probably 63, 64% still. He says, after acquiring Jason Adam and Tanner Scott, and to a lesser degree, Martin Perez and Brian Hoeing, they added a win or 2 to their expected record. That might not seem like a lot, but they're at a high leverage part of the win curve in the thick of the playoff race. Now, that's a good point right there as well. If you're battling for the wild card, and the difference is you just picked up a win or 2 wins, the difference between 86 and 87 might actually be a playoff spot. Now, the difference between like 94 and 95 is irrelevant. The difference between 76 and 77, pointless at this point in the season. But if you're projecting the Padres to win between 84 and 86 games, if you did add a win or 2, that might be the difference between, say, at 84 wins, you've got a 30% chance to make the playoffs, and at 86 wins, you've got an 80% chance to make the playoffs. Those might be the biggest 1 or 2 wins of your entire franchise, based on what you did. So the Padres were in a spot where just picking up a win over the rest of the season could be incredibly important. And then he goes on and says kind of what you did, that the best relievers on a playoff team have an outsized impact in October, with a chance that each one could pitch in like every postseason game, given the spaced out scheduling and the way the games are tighter. And you pick up a guy like Tanner Scott, who we heard from Skip Schumacher this morning, doesn't mind pitching pretty much every day.
Yeah,
he wants to go out there every day. He wants to pitch almost every day. You've got a chance to really be aggressive if you're Mike Schilt with your bullpen usage, both down the stretch and hopefully in the playoffs. So, no, both of those guys with no skin in the game think Padres could be a World Series team now based on what they've done.
Do you remember the number? It was probably like maybe 2 weeks ago. We checked the FanGraphs playoff odds, what the Padres were. I want to say it was like around 35-40%.
When they were,
probably during
at the kind of low
break.
point there, back to 500, or a game above 500 at the All-Star break. Yeah.
So they are currently, after yesterday's win, FanGraphs, just purely analytical, calculated odds. Padres are a 65.4% chance to make the playoffs. They have a 4.3% chance to win the whole effing thing. The way FanGraphs has it, the Phillies are going to win the NL East.
That doesn't seem like much, but like 4.5%. But what are the Phillies acknowledged to probably be the best team right now?
Dodgers are still the favorites.
To win the whole thing?
To win the whole thing.
Okay, I would still say, though, even the favorite to win the whole thing is no more than 20%?
Oh, not even that. 15.7%.
So that's
for the Dodgers.
So 15 is the absolute favorite. So being at around 5% is not like, oh my God, that's a horrible chance. It's 5% chance. Are the Padres that bad? No, the absolute best chance you have right now is 15%.
There are
to win
only
the World
3
Series.
teams in baseball with double-digit % chance of winning the World Series. So that's mostly irrelevant. I focus more on just the making the playoffs. And right now the Padres are sitting at just over 65%.
Okay, that's 2 and 3 all of a sudden, basically, from where they were a couple of weeks ago, which was less than a coin flip. Now they've played their way into a 2-3 chance to make the playoffs. And as we've all acknowledged, if they get there, they should be a dangerous team that no one really wants to face in the postseason. Now you want to try to get the best seed possible, whether that's a wild card and, try to earn that number 1 wild card spot so you can play that series at home, or better yet, chase down the Dodgers. Hey, chase down the Dodgers and the Brewers. Guess what? You get a bye in the first round. Padres are even closer, I believe, to the Brewers than they are to the Dodgers. If you chase down 2 of those teams, it's not out of the question that the Padres could finish with at least the second best record in the National League behind the Phillies. Yeah, the Brewers are 61-46. They're only 15 games above 500. So the Padres are 3.5 behind the Brewers, and 5.5 or 4.5 behind the Brewers, 5.5 behind the Dodgers. If you really do play well, a bye is not entirely out of the question. You do have to win the division, though, and that starts with probably winning tonight's game and sweeping the Dodgers, clinching the season series, something the Padres have not done against the Los Angeles Dodgers.
And you know what?
Since 2010.
I was much more nervous about yesterday, and I was feeling pretty good yesterday. I was more. You have to be more nervous with Waldron, who's been great all year. A huge surprise for the Padres, but you're throwing Dylan Cease at home, coming off a no-no against old man Kershaw, who's only had 1 start this year. Go get that win tonight.
Yeah, you like the matchup. I mean, a lot of times guys coming off no-hitters, they've been stretched out, obviously, in their last start. There may be a little lingering fatigue. Dylan Cease did have that extra day. Hopefully that helps out. He threw, 114 pitches, was it, in the no-hitter?
Yeah,
so,
sounds right.
He's coming off one of his, if not the most pitches he's thrown, I think most or second most he's thrown in a game all season. But Kershaw's not stretched out yet. He's thrown like four innings. He's come back. He's not going to be able to give him a lot of length. Had to play a 10-inning game last night. Padres have new bullpen reinforcements coming in. Dodgers do too. They've got Kopech. I'd imagine will be available tomorrow after that trade as well. So,
any idea when the Padres' new guys are going to be ready?
They should be ready today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe they will be available for tonight's game. All 3 of the new relievers, which will be one of the topics we've got on the roundtable coming up, including, what moves the Padres need to make. They'll have to make 2 roster moves today in their bullpen to decide who Hoeing and Scott are going to replace on the 26-man roster. We've also got our 7th-inning stretch question, and since you're not going to be there, I will let you take a crack at it here before I unleash it on everybody else. And you know how I work, so Olympics are underway. Paulie, you get to be a world-class Olympian for one day. Which Summer Games sport do you choose to experience at the highest level? Like, you could be the greatest javelin thrower.
Like, I'm going to win.
You get to be a gold medal, like the top of the sport. But, like, just to feel what it's like, what sport would you pick?
Sprints.
You want to be fast.
100 meter. To be the fastest man in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to feel
Usain
what it's like to
Bolt.
run a 9+ second 100 meters. Like you run across a football field in less than 10 seconds. You want to feel what that experience is like to be the fastest man in the world.
It sounds cool to say, I'm the fastest man in the world. Not I'm the best javelin thrower, I'm the best pole vaulter in the world. I am the fastest man in the world. Yeah.
That's a pretty cool answer for sure. But there's also like some spectacular sports out there that you could be really good at. That would be very cool.
Are you going to tell me yours, or are you going to wait?
I'm going to wait.
Okay.
I mean, I consider it a lot, though. And can you imagine being the gold medalist in surfing for a day?
That'd be pretty cool.
To be the number 1 surfer in the world, to experience that would be, I mean, just think of the thrill of being that guy who gets to surf like that. Thought about that one. Obviously, I am a golfer. Wouldn't it be great for a day to be the greatest golfer in the world and just the ball goes exactly where you want to all the time? So that's our 7th-inning stretch question coming up in our roundtable, which starts in just a few minutes with the crew gathered today. Sammy Levitt filling in for Woodsy, and then the rest of us will talk about the Padres trade deadline moves and more coming up over the next 60 minutes. And then don't forget, tomorrow, not only will we have the Padres-Dodgers series finale to talk about, but scheduled to join us, special guest host in studio for the second half of the program or so, The great Uncle Teddy, Ted Leitner, is going to be back. Padres ambassador extraordinaire, getting ready for his last season of Aztecs basketball later this year that he's going to call before he hangs up the microphone. But I know Teddy's got a couple of good hot takes left in him, and I will be a little intimidated, but also very excited to sit down with Uncle Teddy for an hour or two tomorrow.
He'll be here?
I think, 8 a.m. I just texted him to see what he needs in his green room to make sure that we have everything prepared for him. I also told him to keep his expectations rather low. Our hospitality is not legendary here in the Odyssey Empire
Adam,
studio.
can we get like
Save some
a couple
round table
of bottles
pizza.
of water?
Save
maybe.
some round table pizza for Ted Leitner, please, in the fridge. We'll break that out for him tomorrow. That's it for us. For Paul Reindl, I'm Ben Higgins. Talk to you on the round table next year on 97.3 The Fan.